Hello, everybody, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, the 5th episode. But that doesn't matter because we're going to spend a long time talking about E3 and almost nothing else unless we go off on a tangent at some point. So, Andrew
Which
Eisen
we are
here,
known to do.
which we want to do. Yes, Andrew Eisen here, along with EZK and I. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, Andrew. Hello, everybody out there.
Okay, so because this is going to be a longer podcast, I just want to get a quick plug out of the way really quick. And that is, I'm looking to bring back my Q and Andrew series of YouTube videos, which is essentially just me answering your questions. So if you have a question you would like me to answer or a topic you would like to hear my opinion on, please send me your question. Don't put it in the chat because the chat does not save. Put it in the YouTube comment section. Post it to me on Facebook, direct message, Twitter, wherever. Just email, whatever. Send me questions, and maybe I'll answer it in an upcoming episode of Q and Andrew. So, with that out of the way, I would also like to announce that I have a few codes to give out for the Monster Hunter Generations demo. Not the full game, mind you, but early access to the demo. I have 3 codes, and I'll be giving those away here very shortly. All 3 of them, so don't worry, you don't have to sit through the entire podcast if you're just here for a Monster Hunter Generations demo code. But
I was hoping to make everybody sit through the entire show, and so that they can catch those random moments throughout the show where we give one away.
yeah, that's not fair. So, okay, let's before we just power through the show, general impressions. What do you think? A decent show year?
I think this was one of the worst years of me watching E3. I think. Let's see, how long have we been doing the podcast? 4 years now,
4 or 5 years,
5 years, something like that. Yeah, we've done an E3 show every year, and I think this was probably the most boring and non-exciting show that I've watched so far. There just wasn't a whole lot going. Just mainly just there weren't very many games I was excited about, and no new console announcements other than the Xbox stuff, which I didn't care much for. Although the Xbox Slim or Xbox One S, is pretty cool that they managed to shrink it that much. But other than that, it's like no hardware announcements that were worth mentioning. Most of the game stuff were just kind of yeah. Because I don't play. I guess this was about 80% of the games shown by most of the publishers were first-person shooters, and I don't care about first-person shooters. So,
well, the Xbox One S. So, are we going to call it the X Bones?
Yes, the X Bones.
The Xbox Ones.
It's going to be the X Bones.
The X Bones.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I suppose the Xbox One S and the Microsoft was about the only one who really announced hardware. I mean, Sony did announce their PSVR thing, which is I think $300, which is a lot cheaper than everything else. I mean, hundreds of dollars cheaper than what Oculus and Vive, whatever it's called, are supposed to cost.
Yeah, Vive.
Yeah. So I still don't know if anybody is going to care. I wonder if you see, because a couple of years ago, 3D televisions were supposed to be the new hotness. And a lot of people were saying, oh, that's never going to catch on, simply because people don't want to strap goofy goggles to their face. And to be fair, the goofy 3D goggles are little more than bulky sunglasses. And I, at the time, kind of poo-pooed that and was thinking, I think most people would be fine just slipping on a pair of shades to watch 3D television.
Not me.
Nope. No, they're not. And what I learned subsequently is that not only are people really not interested in putting sunglasses on, I know a bunch of people who really love the off TV play for the Wii U simply so they don't have to take the extra step of turning on the television. That's just oh thank goodness I can just play right here and don't have to actually bother hitting one button. You can even actually turn the television on with right from here. But nope, that's too much work.
Yeah,
So
too much.
it's unless VR just really captures the attention of mainstream, America and everywhere else that it's being sold. I find it kind of hard to believe that the people who won't wear glasses, who won't turn on their television to play video games, are going to strap a box onto their head.
Yeah.
Especially since this is an expensive box, because whichever solution you're going for, PlayStations or HTC, HCT, whichever one it is, Oculus, Valve, whomever, you have to buy expensive hardware to use the expensive hardware.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, I've used VR and I've watched people use it, and it's fun, but it suffers a problem even worse than the Xbox Kinect did. You know, with the Kinect, you had to have a fairly large area in front of your television set in order to interact with the Kinect, and this was so bad that that Nico, the third-party accessories manufacturer, they actually made a zoom lens for the Kinect so that you could use it in a smaller area. But the thing is, with VR, unless you're just going to do something on rails or using the controller for input, you need a fairly large area. And you know, I went to a VR demonstration here in Oklahoma City a couple months ago, and they had some technology that they were using where you could actually cordon off like a 10 by 10, 15 by 15, whatever, like a room-sized area, and you could actually walk around the room with your VR headset on and with the little controllers they had, so that you could actually play. And it was just, you know, that's great in an arcade setting, but not in a home setting. You know, that's just not going to work at home.
But most of the VR stuff doesn't really require you to move around; just sit there and kind of turn your head.
And that itself is just that gets old, and you know, I can't imagine just sitting there with something strapped to my face for 3 hours at a time.
Yeah, it seems more novel than anything else, like a real cool experience to partake in once in a while, not something it's like, man, I am just going to take a Sunday and game for 12 hours straight. Thump. You know? I don't know. But then again, we might have experiences, and we'll talk about this more in depth later, like Resident Evil 7, which is going to be VR compatible, but the save will work wherever. So if you start getting a headache, you can just take it off and continue on the television. So that might be fine. But we'll see. It may become a Wii-like phenomenon. The Wii, it may not last, but...
Well, and I don't think it'll ever get to be a Wii like phenomenon unless they can manage to get the price down to under $200.
That's the sticking point, because even with $300 for PlayStation VR, you're still paying another $250 to $300 for the PlayStation 4 if you don't already own it. So it's $550, $600 for the entire unit, and that's pretty pricey. That's asking a lot, because as we've seen with the Xbox One when it launched and the PS3 when it launched, $500-$600, a significant number of people will turn their nose up at. So, but we'll see. So, all right, let us give out some Monster Hunter generation codes. Or codes for the demo for Monster Hunter Generations, mind you. Just want to be clear that that's what I have to give away. So, And there's only 11 people watching, so you have a pretty good chance. All right, trivia time. The first person to answer the following question will get a code for the early demo of Monster Hunter Generations. And type it in the Twitch chat box on randomtower.com because I'm not looking at the YouTube comments right now. All right.
Poor YouTube people.
Which third-party company develops and publishes the Monster Hunter series?
Come on, somebody get that one right. It's not that difficult.
There's a bit of a delay. Matthew. Yep, Capcom. Very good. So.
All right.
All right. And.
Yeah, sorry, the river. Matthew was just a little bit closer. Yeah, a little bit faster on that enter button.
And technically, Capcom should be capitalized, but that's okay. Okay. Second question. In what year did the first Monster Hunter game release in Japan and North America?
Japan and North America?
Yeah, it came out in Japan and North America the same year. I think it came out. I think in Japan it came out in May, and then it came out in North America the following fall, like October, November, something like that. $2000? Nope.
2000. That's PlayStation 1 era.
Not quite that old.
Yeah, because we're only on Monster Hunter, 4?
Give you a hint, it was PS2. Yeah, but Monster Hunter 4, yeah, but there's, this one's Generations. Yeah. Although a lot of people read it as, the Japanese title is Monster Hunter X, and it's cross, really, not an X, which makes it look like a Roman numeral 10, but it's not actually the 10th game, even though there are about 10 games, depending on how you count. 2006 is a good guess, but nope. Somewhere between 2000 and 2006. It was on the PS2.
Come on, you look it up on Google. It shows right there on the side.
Closer. Closer, River.
Wow.
So close. Somewhere between Dan and River. My God, the competition is fierce. So for those of you listening to this podcast later, we've had 2000, 2006, and 2003 as the guesses.
Yeah.
It's like eBay in here. Yep. Do, 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 do. 2004. That's right. It came out in 2004 in Japan and North America, and came out in Australia and Europe the following year in 2005.
Yeah, 2004. Come on, it's Wikipedia, people. How hard is it to open up Wikipedia?
River, do you have an account at Random Tower? If so, let me know what it is so I can email you the code. If not, private message me on Twitter or something like that. All right, last one. Judging by the players, I'm going to guess Dan is going to get this. Okay. All right. Let me, here we go. Okay. Who is this handsome devil?
Didn't you kick him to death?
No, that was the great Jaggy that I kicked to death, and it took about 20 minutes with Cha-Cha throwing bombs at him.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize I had him in his bomber mask.
Okay.
And so give me the name of this monster.
He looks like Crocosaurus Rex.
Crocosaurus Rex. This is actually one of my favorite monsters because it is like this this giant excitable puppy that doesn't realize it's not time to play. This guy will just OMG, yeah, the codes probably won't work for you if you're not in the North America. I
Yeah.
really don't know. I'm guessing that's probably the case. I do apologize for that, but I got these codes from Nintendo America, so. Really? No one knows who this is? There was a hint in the question. Who is this handsome devil? Eh?
Come
There's
on,
the-
guys.
All right, well, if we will move on from this. There we go. All right, so if anyone wants the code and knows who that monster is, let me know and I'll send you a code.
I think I know its name.
Well, I mean, you can give me its Japanese name if you really want. I think it has the same European name. But again, I think the codes I have are only for North America. I'm not completely sure about that, but who knows? All right, so let's talk about E3. The first conference was EA, who was not as boring as I was expecting. I think they paced it all right.
They only spent like 20 minutes on sports, which was actually a big surprise.
Yeah,
But
well,
I did get to watch it. I got to watch the recording, so I still got to skip the sports. But
oh, good.
it wasn't too much. So
Yeah, one of the things I thought was really funny is I didn't write down the names of anyone, but one of the very early presenters said something along the lines of, "We welcome your feedback, and we, both positive and negative, but play the game first." He essentially said, "Go ahead and criticize, but at least play the damn game first." I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
EA also had this weird dual conference setup where they had the they had
they
the
had
theater
Peter
in
Moore
LA.
in London, and which was kind of neat. But yeah, the thing that really bugged me is that was it EA? Pretty sure it was EA, wasn't it?
What?
Somebody was saying, just kept on going on and on about, we're going to show you this awesome stuff, we're going to show you this cool stuff, we're going to show you this neat stuff, and they kept on going on and on and on about this, and it's like they went on for like 10 minutes like that, and I'm like, okay, show me something. Golly. Yeah, it was EA. It was like, I tweeted. It's like, stop telling me what I'm going to see and show me something already.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just going on and on about what they were going to show us, and then they don't show us anything that I actually care about, and it's like,
Oddly enough, EA did not earn my worst presser of E3 this year.
Oh no, they weren't the worst by far.
No.
But yeah, they didn't show me anything that I actually wanted to see. It's like they got to the Star Wars stuff, and all I got to see were little clips and splashes of the games. I'm like, you got 3 Star Wars games, and you're not going to actually show me anything.
Yeah, it was well, they're not coming out for years yet. It was mostly just people smiling at computer monitors. Yeah, it's like, okay. Yeah. So, all right, the first thing they showed off was Titanfall 2, which I did not play Titanfall 1. So, anyone
that was
who has
a 360 exclusive or Microsoft exclusive, wasn't it?
This one's going to come to the PS4. And what's interesting, and it has a single player mode, and here's something I didn't know. I don't know if it's new for the second game or if it was just something I didn't realize, but the Titans, the big robot mechs that you ride around in, are sentient, or at least have a personality AI driving it, because
Mm-hmm.
it talks and stuff, which
Yeah,
I did
and it's
not
like,
realize that was the thing.
yeah, and in when they did the trailer for the story mode, the Titan itself picked its driver when its original driver died. It's like, I want that driver now, and it's like, okay, that's kind of weird, but
Yeah, Matthew says it's new. I thought it was. I didn't think that. I thought the Titans were just tools, just like cars, not like
yeah,
kit, but just regular cars that you get in and drive. So okay, that's
yeah,
new, and that's fine. Hey, the
yeah.
Titans are sentient, fine.
But
Oh,
the question I had,
I thought it
uh,
was really funny that EA made a point to tell us that the single player is offline. Good.
well, that's good. I missed that. I was just kind of bored with Titanfall because I never played Titanfall 1 and didn't really care much for it. But because, well, I only have an Xbox 360, but I don't have a lot of games for it. But
Noxa
uh,
says that in the first game you could pick an AI voice that had different personalities. I thought that was more along the lines of like Siri. I mean, it's a "I'm about to explode, eject," that kind of a thing, rather than "Hey man, how you doing? I like you. You and I, we're gonna do things together because we've bonded." It I'm like, really? I didn't realize they were
yeah,
nice sentient, but oh well. So
yeah.
Titanfall 2 really holds
But
zero interest to me, but
but uh, um, but two things of note from Titanfall for me
Mhm.
was Titanfall 2 is coming to the PS4.
Yeah.
But they made no mention of whether the first Titanfall is going to come to the PS4. But I guess
Mhm.
it's kind of a moot thing since the first one was mostly multiplayer, anyways.
And everyone
So
got bored of it long ago, so
yeah. And then the second thing is that I find it really sad that single player campaigns are a special feature in video games now.
Mm.
I find that really sad. It's like, we've got this awesome game coming out, and by the way, it's going to have single player. It's like, what? What? That should be the default. The default should be single player, and then add multiplayer later. But I'm
Uh,
just not a multiplayer gamer, so I guess
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not my
that
thing.
I have that viewpoint sometimes, but I because I don't care about multiplayer, I don't want to play it. I'm a huge Monster Hunter fan, but I don't care to play multiplayer at all.
Yeah, see,
I'm
that
a
was one of the
solo
things
hunter.
that was one of the things that bugged me with Monster Hunter 3 or whatever it was for the Wii. I wanted to
Try,
get
yeah.
it. Yeah, I wanted to get it, but I wanted to be able to play co-op with my kids or my wife or somebody. But the co-op mode was not the actual game. It was more of an arena style, an arena thing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, and the actual campaign was either single player or online multiplayer, and that just bugged the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And
Now, to be fair, the single player, the campaign is pretty much just arena fights. Although with multiple connected arenas, you have to chase the monster around. The arena battle is just a big arena that you and some friends can come in and beat the
yeah,
tar out of monsters. But yeah, fair point. Fair point.
yeah.
Um.
All
Okay.
right.
So moving on,
Next, they went
Madden
to
NFL
Madden.
17. They showed no
Um,
gameplay. I don't care anyway.
yeah,
Well, I
I wrote
mean, the
Madden
stuff they
NFL.
showed, yeah, the stuff they showed was probably in engine and probably in game. They just moved the
Yeah,
camera. That's not what it looks like when you play. And
no.
EA Sports always does that with their games, so I'm used to it. Mass Effect Andromeda, more Mass Effect.
Yeah, my
No,
big question is, and they didn't answer it. Is like, will this star Kevin Sorbo? But,
no, probably not. But they didn't show any gameplay. It was mostly a behind-the-scenes look, so it looks like this game is probably pretty far out, man.
yeah, but they did show the trailer was pretty good, and it alluded to the main character being a woman. So I don't know if it's just going to be you get to pick your gender like
Yes, you
Captain
can.
Shepard. Or,
Yeah, it's the same
yeah,
thing with Shepard. It looks like they may be having the female version of the main character, whose name is Ryder in this game, I believe, being the face of the marketing campaign. The male Shepard was the face of the Mass Effect original trilogy marketing campaign, so they might go with female Ryder as the face of the new series of Mass Effect games.
yeah,
Or it'll be a
and
one-off for
yeah.
this presentation.
And for those of you who didn't get my Kevin Sorbo joke, there was a
Hercules.
television show called Andromeda, and it starred Kevin Sorbo. So that was back when he was actually he was a well-known actor due to the Hercules series.
Yeah. BioWare said in an interview the game is set for March 2017. I would expect to be seeing more of the game if it's really coming out in March 2017.
Yeah.
So I'll believe
in
that
less
when
than
I
a
see it.
year. So yeah, in
On
less
the
than a
other
year,
hand, maybe just like with Mass Effect 3, EA will force their hand, BioWare's hand, and the game will come out in March 2017, whether it's ready or not.
Yeah. So, but just to interject some just random news that popped up during E3, Microsoft, or it was announced that Microsoft bought LinkedIn for $26.2 billion.
Oh, I knew they had their eye on it. I didn't hear they actually pulled the trigger.
Yeah, they actually pulled the trigger, and it was people. Yeah, it was announced during E3, so that was weird. All right, but after Mass Effect was FIFA 17, I said skip. What about you?
Oh, Dan, the name is Ryder in Mass Effect Andromeda. So Dan is saying that Ryder, ride her. I think we're going to see a lot of Rule 34 art flooding in. Oh, I have no doubt. We saw a lot of Shepard art, and he didn't really have a punny name. So there's going to be Rule 34 regardless. I mean that big slime monster that talks in it without that states its inflection before it says anything. You know, bemusement. That was funny. Yeah, that character. There's porn of him.
Yeah.
So,
but Matthew, yes, that's exactly what they bought. They bought the data. They didn't care about any of the other stuff. It's pretty much the same reason they bought Minecraft, was to get to the user data. So,
But, yeah. So next, FIFA 17. Still don't care. No gameplay. In-game stuff with manipulated camera, I'm sure, but most of it was cutscene stuff because they were looking for. They were selling the story mode called The Journey, which looks terrible. I mean, from a modeling and animation standpoint, it's really, really bad. Yeah. I mean,
well, and story mode is actually story mode is actually a very popular feature with football, European, world football, not American football, FIFA games and other soccer games. They story modes and campaign modes are actually very popular with those. So it's no wonder they spent a lot of time.
Yeah, I don't mind the mode. I think it's a great idea, and it comes off as one of those really rote sports films where the underdog and we're gonna win and no, we're gonna have adversity, but can I really do it? And mom says, whack, of course you can. I didn't raise no fool. And it comes and they win the championship. It's the same sports story you've seen a million times. I was just absolutely floored by how genuinely awful the modeling and animation was. I mean, it looks last generation.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Maybe it's just early yet. I don't know. And then they brought some manager guy on stage, and it was very, very awkward. Like, we've got 3 managers in a game, and then another manager guy walked out on stage, apparently a 4th manager. Is like, maybe there. I'm like, so there is a 4th manager in the game? But I mean, it was like they didn't script that part. They just said, "Oh, just come out on stage and we'll banter and it'll be great." And it wasn't. It was just really awkward. So, all right, moving on. We have the worst name for a video game ever. Industry. Never call your video game Feh. Seriously, F-E. Feh. That's not a good name for a game.
Was this let me see here. Oh, okay. Well, that was after they announced their EA Originals program, where they're going to publish indie games, and then Feh was their launch game, the game that started the whole program. So for those who didn't catch this, EA Originals, they're going to publish indie games, but not like indie games, not my game. They're not going to publish my game.
Yeah.
They're going to publish. They're going to publish the guy who made Braid's game. I forget his name, Jonathan Blow. They're going to publish his game. People that have a name, have a huge following. I guess you would call these the triple I indies. But
Jonathan Blow, another name for the Rule 34 crowd.
Yeah, but the thing that I found interesting about this was they promised to send all profits back to the developers, and this was after they make back their initial investment in the game. But my question is, are they going to use movie and music budgeting in order to avoid paying out the profits? Because Star Wars: The Return of the Jedi still has not made a profit. And that's why the guy who played Darth Vader has not received any of the royalties. His contract was,
David Prowse has not received any royalties from Return of the Jedi?
Yep, because the movie has not made a profit yet. Because this is movie accounting. They shuffle things through multiple shell companies and formulate debt on the spot in order to say, nope, all this money is going back to pay the debt for this shell company that we created to do this. And it's like, yeah. And that's widespread throughout the movie and music industries. So, but so I got to wonder, it's like, what are they going to claim as publishing expenses in order to avoid paying out profits?
Matthew says if they try that, no indie dev will work with EA ever again.
Well, EA has been known to destroy companies, and yet people still sell their companies to them. But after that, they showed off Faye, and it looks nice. I couldn't really get a very good grasp on the entire game.
The presentation was really weird. Here's how they presented it. They had a person narrating a series of screenshots. So whoever was narrating is like, in this game, you're a little dude who does these things. And it showed a relevant screen, then it showed a new screen, and you can do these other things. And then bad enemies come and they do this. And I was like, okay, why don't you show a video? Is it that early? All right. And then they showed a gameplay video made up of, which is where they took all those screens from. And I'm thinking, why didn't you just narrate the video instead of narrating screenshots from the video and then showing the video? That's just weird to me.
Yeah, it was a weird presentation, but the game looks neat, and I'm not, I'm not going to.
It could be real cool.
Yeah, it could be.
Noxa points out that the manager guy on the FIFA 17 presentation is incredibly awkward in every interview he gives anyway. So.
Okay.
All right, so next was Star Wars, and what's-her-face came out and was like, Star Wars, lots of Star Wars, you get a Star Wars, and you get a Star Wars sometime in the next couple of years. And hey, you remember Star Wars Battlefront, that game you paid full price for? We're going to keep working on it and put all the stuff in that should have been in there in the first place. Yeah. So I think we got like one shot of the Bespin add-on for Battlefront, and the rest of it was just more behind-the-scenes footage of happy developers smiling at their computer monitors, not looking stressed at all, so I didn't buy it for a damn minute.
Yeah, these...
Okay. Look,
I did not.
This is not the facial expression of a video game developer. That's not what they look like. It's more like... it's really...
Developers like, come on, why won't you compile?
Yep. Or Huh? What coffee? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Star Wars. There will be Star Wars games.
Yeah, there will be
All
Star Wars
right.
games. We saw nothing about them. I forget what the 3 titles were, but
Hey, you
one of
think
them
one
was
of them will be
actually.
that 1313 game that
I
was
don't know that one. Yeah, that one was
announced years
canceled.
ago and obviously was not coming to the PS3 or 360 because it looked way better than anything the 360 and PS3 could do.
Yeah,
So everyone was thinking, is this going to be a next gen title? It never appeared. Apparently it was
yeah,
canceled. It's a shame
it
too
was
because
canceled.
it
Yeah,
looked pretty cool, but it almost feels like some executive at some point says it doesn't have enough lightsabers in it because apparently this one followed not Jedi.
see,
So
and that's cool.
mm,
There is so much
yes,
to the Star Wars universe that you can do things without ever interacting with a Jedi, and it's still cool.
yeah,
Yeah. One of my favorite books was Tales of the Bounty Hunters. It just followed the story of the 6 bounty hunters, or however many bounty hunters that Darth Vader hired
Oh, an
to
Empire?
yeah, in
Yeah.
Empire.
Okay.
And it told the stories of them all, and that was a really entertaining book, especially with IG-88, the assassin droid
The
one.
robot. Yeah.
It told the story of like this robot from birth to final destruction. Yeah, and it was like it was a really entertaining story. I liked it. The ending was a little hokey, but still, for the most part, the story was really good. The Dengar, the guy with his face wrapped up,
Mhm.
his story was
The
totally
dude.
boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
didn't like him.
Dengar has been the butt of every joke ever. If you watch
Yeah,
Robot Chicken, he is. They love making fun of him.
yeah,
IG-88, on the other hand, that is if you've played Shadows of the Empire for the N64, that is one hell of a boss fight.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you've played it, you know what I'm talking about. That sucker is tense.
yeah.
But hey, Star Wars is cool, so we're
Yeah,
getting more of
I
that.
would have, yeah, but I just would have loved to have actually seen some trailers at least, yeah. But
Yeah, or something, but I
yeah,
guess they're just like
the
2 or
little
3 years out.
the 5 second snippets of gameplay were just sparse throughout that behind the
Yeah,
scenes thing. Just
but
was not cutting it for
at
me.
least we know that the game developers are happy.
Yeah.
So thank goodness for that. Moving
All
on,
right.
Battlefield 1,
Yes, EA has followed the Microsoft method of numbering
which
things.
is not an Xbox One exclusive. It's just called Battlefield 1,
And
and
why is it called one?
because World War One, I guess.
Yeah, because it takes place in World War One, which is actually really nice because
Sure, because
we don't have very many World War One games,
yeah, apparently it spans the length of World War One too.
which is good too.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was extra credits. Actually, did a video about what we're doing wrong with our World War Two video games because
Yeah,
they
we
all
keep
tend to
focusing
focus
on
on
the same battles. Yeah.
the same handful of battles when there was this whole continent spanning campaign that you can take cool stuff from. So it's
They
good to
don't
see
call it
that.
a world war for nothing.
Yeah, so it's good to see that Battlefield is going to World War One, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they botch the dogfights because their video the video where and anytime it showed the biplanes, I was just like, that is not how those things worked in actual battles. It's like they were showing
No.
ground campaigns along with air campaigns, and it's just like, yeah, that's not at all what was going on in the war. But
Yeah.
still, it was very entertaining to watch. I like that.
One thing I thought was really weird, again, very odd presentation of the game because they showed the first 30 seconds of the Battlefield 1 trailer and then
Hmm.
stopped the trailer and talked and then started the trailer over again from the beginning.
I miss that.
It kind of reminds me of what movie trailers are doing on YouTube these days, where they will show a like 5 second supercut preview of the trailer that you just clicked on to watch. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't even get a sense of And that's slightly more recent than what trailers have been doing, as padding like 20 minutes of credits to the end of the trailer that shows you what you just watched and gives you information about where you can. That I don't mind, because then I can click away, but you never get a good
Yeah.
idea of how long the trailer is. Oh, and EA really, really wants you to know that every single play session in Battlefield 1 will be different. Did you know that every single play session in Battlefield 1 will be different? Because everyone will be different. No two play sessions will be the same. They will all be different because they won't be the same. They'll
Oh
be
man,
different.
yeah, Jet Dan, that would be totally awesome. A battle, there's a Civil War game. Not a Civil War strategy game, but a Civil War war fighter game. That would be cool. Yeah, I would play one of those. Um, just because it's like, but of course, with the Civil War, you really can't get away from the team combat, because with single fire guns, you have to have somebody back there to reload for you. But yeah, but the Civil War would still be kind of cool.
So we had one really unfortunate. Not a lot of people putting their foot in their mouths at E3 this year.
Yeah,
All of it actually came from Nintendo's Aonuma regarding Zelda, but we'll get there. But this was from a person who. This didn't happen at E3. This comes from someone who used to work for DICE, and said that because people were wondering, how come there are no women in the Battlefield 1 multiplayer? No female characters you can select to play Battlefield 1 multiplayer, because there are a cast of people you play throughout the single player campaign, one of which is a woman. So how come no women's in the multiplayer? Even Call of Duty fixed that a couple of years ago. FIFA fixed that a couple of years ago. What's going on? And this former DICE person said, and of course this is just from this guy, so this is all alleged, that essentially the powers that be think that their target audience, young boys, would be confused by the presence of women in fighting in World War One, which is
okay.
which is wrong on so many levels. First of all, women did fight in World War One. Certainly, it
Yeah.
was certainly it wasn't 50-50, but
No.
women were there, had a lot of roles. Two, your game's rated M. This is kind of the unspoken little secret. You're not supposed to admit that you are actually marketing these to 12-year-old boys. Three, I honestly don't think they'd care. I
No.
really don't think a 12-year-old is going to go through the character select and go, women? What? I can't play this game now. I'm so confused by the ability to play as women, especially since they're not going completely historically even if women didn't fight
Yeah.
in World War One, they're not going completely historically accurate anyway. So
Yeah.
it's okay, guys. You can have a race of lizard people in multiplayer too. It's a video game. It's okay.
Oh, sweet. That would be awesome. Where World War One was not just humans; there were actually aliens in there.
We all the governments just conspired to cover it up in the
Yeah.
subsequent years.
Well, actually, it would kind of funny here, but Star Command, that space game that I was playing on my phone a few weeks back, there's actually a battle in there where you fight an alien spaceship that had been in a geosynchronous orbit around one of Jupiter's moons, I think. And you find it, and on board are a bunch of American World War II soldiers, but they're actually robots. So this alien race was actually seeding the armies on Earth with robots in order to destabilize the Earth's governments, which was actually kind of funny. But
Ooh, Jet Dan has a great idea, or well, I'm having a great idea based on Jet Dan's comment, who says, "I can't wait till we see all the Snoopy memes in Battlefield One." I want to fight
oh
as Snoopy Red Baron in Battlefield One as an unlockable
yes,
character,
that
flying
would be
around in his doghouse. That would be great. What an
That would
awesome
be
idea.
totally cool. Yeah.
The weird thing about the whole no women in the multiplayer thing is, I mean, if that is the case, that has to be the case. They're like, our target audience is little boys and they don't care. And it's like, yeah, but you could expand that audience, dummy. But it's a weird argument because it's like, okay, well, it's too expensive to add women in. Well, all right. You have a female in the single player campaign, so you have female character models. So you could use those, you know, you don't have to create anything from
Yeah.
scratch. Oh, but we have 15 different male character models, and it would be kind of weird if we had 15 different male character models and one female character model. It's like, yeah, so that's why you plan ahead for this stuff and you make 8 male character models and 7 female character models, and then you have a total of 15, nice mix of men and women and a lizard person. um, so really what it comes down to is pull your heads out of your butts, realize it's 2016, get on the ball, stop being silly. You know, yes, the games are very popular with 12-year-old boys, but you can sell to more than just that demographic.
Yeah. All right. So out of E3's conference, what was the game that you were either most excited for or least disappointed in?
EA's, you mean?
Yeah, just an EA's conference.
Looks kind of maybe neat. I mean, I like Mass Effect Andromeda, cool, but we didn't see anything. Star Wars, I love Star Wars, but we didn't see anything. Battlefield 1 could be cool. I like the setting. Maybe the single. I haven't seen any of the single player. I'm sure there's been something about it, but I haven't seen anything on it yet. And multiplayer just doesn't really interest me. So, but I do like the trailer where, oh my gosh, a blimp is coming at me. He's like, oh no. I'm like, take your gun, shoot the blimp. It explodes. They are really, really, really bad at that. I mean, they can really be taken out with small arms fire from the ground. They're really terrible. They're big and intimidating, like bumblebees. But yeah, so I guess I'd have to even though its presentation was weird. It was at least something different and looked like it could be interesting. The rest of them I might be more interested in if they actually showed something.
Yeah. I think I probably agree with you, and which is just kind of funny because an indie developer is more impressive than what EA's AAA development houses can throw out. But, yeah. All right.
So Jet Dan says my heart's in the right place. Even if I did everything to fix social issues, there's always a few assholes that are never pleased. Yeah, but screw them.
Yeah.
Noxus says they wouldn't be able to take the female character model and animation from the single player because of the animation and model differences in the multiplayer. A good example of this is the Uncharted series comparing Uncharted 2, 3, and 4's multiplayer models and animations to the single player. Well, yeah, I'm saying take the model and use I have to think they're rigged somewhat the same. That would seem to be, unless they have two completely different teams, which they absolutely may have. That could be it. There's a completely separate team working on the single player as there is in the multiplayer. In that case, then you plan from the beginning to build both character models. But yes, I mean, for example, when Ubisoft got called on it for Assassin's Creed Unity, girls are hard to animate. At that point, when the game is pretty much done, we can't really add women in because the game's kind of done. What everyone's really saying is, folks, you're supposed to think of this stuff in the first place, so you don't have to patch it in. It should be in there in the first place. But Fett is just meh. So
all right.
Let's move on to Bethesda.
Yes.
Who is making a new Quake?
Yeah, I really like
absolutely zero gameplay, but I thought that blue hair, the woman with the blue hair, was pretty neat looking.
I
really design looks neat.
Yeah, I really like the intro to the Quake presentation where they did the whole DOS command, load up Quake and
Oh
all
yeah,
that.
and they had
That
Commander and
was
a couple
yeah,
other things in there.
yeah, that was really cool. I liked that.
Oh, and I also
But
love the fact they says and it runs at 120 hertz. I'm like,
what?
okay.
Yeah, but the big question I had with Quake that Bethesda didn't answer was the way
Wait till
they were
QuakeCon.
describing. Yeah, wait till QuakeCon, then we'll learn more. But
Yeah.
the way they described this new Quake called Quake Champions, it sounds like they are trying to compete with Team Fortress 2 and Overwatch rather than get back to their Quake arena shooter roots. So that's my concern with the game, because when I think of Quake, I think of you pick your character model and you run around this arena, find bullets and guns, and you blow everybody up. But with Team Fortress and Overwatch, you have a character with a specific weapon and abilities and stuff, and so that's the way they presented Quake Champions. That's what I was imagining, and I think that might disappoint a lot of Quake fans.
Eh.
So, but we have to wait till August for QuakeCon to actually know what Quake Champions is.
Yeah, yeah. For anyone who's wondering, 120 hertz is referring to the frame rate, which almost every single person on the planet refers to in frames per second. But whatever. You want to brag
Yeah.
about your frame rate in hertz? You rock on. you
Go
do.
right for it.
So at this point, whoever was on stage thanked the millions of people watching right now, and I was sitting there thinking, millions? I was watching it on YouTube, and there were only 60,000 people watching. So I quickly flipped over to Bethesda's channel on Twitch, and there were 327,000 there. So, I mean, it was being restreamed in a bunch of different places, but I think millions is probably a bit of an overestimation.
Probably yes, but there were a lot of people, but I don't think it was more than 1 million or so people watching either
In all.
live or the next day. So, man.
So there's an Elder Scrolls card game, which I am completely confused because there's another card game called Scrolls.
Oh yeah, I was totally confused. I was like, when did I thought Microsoft bought Mojang, not
Mm.
Bethesda? It's totally blew my mind. But they also did their little. They did a Fallout. They did a Fallout montage of all this cool Fallout stuff they did over the last year. And Fallout Shelter is still a great game, by the way. You should play it if you haven't. But yeah, with the Elder Scrolls, the Elder Scrolls card game. Is it Elder Scrolls Legends?
Something they showed
Yeah,
the opening cinematic, and then they showed a little bit of gameplay while they were
yeah.
talking about it, and
But
it's fun.
really, it makes you wonder how long they've had this in pre-production and development, because depending on how long they had been working on this to me explains why they went so hard after Mojang and their Scrolls trademark. Because if they had this game already in pre-production when Mojang announced Scrolls and filed for the trademark, that that explains why they were so
So they've been working on a card game for 5 years,
maybe
and they're still not done. Even
but
the
yeah
developers behind the Last Guardian are like, "Goodness, folks, get a move on."
but it seems like here Bethesda is again responding to all these other card games out there, specifically Hearthstone, which is the big one out right now. I think there's a couple other popular card
Oh, sure.
computer card
But
games, aren't there?
Hearthstone is
But
more
Hearthstone's the big
popular,
one,
yeah,
yeah.
which is cool.
So yeah,
But yeah, next they showed Bethesda's show for me was kind of lame because they had a lot of stuff like this. Hey, Fallout 4. And I'm like, yeah, that's something that came out a year ago. And they're like, it's cool. We've got more stuff for Fallout 4. I'm like, great. Hey, remember the Fallout 4 iPhone game or the mobile game we released last year? Yeah, new stuff for that. I'm like, all right. And
Yeah.
so mobile game expansion and PC port. Oh, all right, cool, sure. Hey, remember Skyrim from like 5 some years ago? Yes, that's coming to current gen, and it's like, oh, okay.
Oh man, yeah.
Remember Prey 2? Yeah, you canceled it. We still cancel it, but we're making another Prey.
Yeah.
Doesn't look anything like the first one or what the second one was going to be, and we showed no gameplay. Just an interesting little cutscene. I mean, it
Oh
was
yeah, it was an
evocative.
interesting
Looks
trailer.
like it's going to be a shooter.
Well, yeah, of course. Bethesda can't do anything else. Well, except for third-person open world fantasy games.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So and then so they Prey. I was like, okay, this doesn't make me care anything whatsoever about this game. But
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing. It's like, okay, cool. Let me know when you show off the game. I mean, the
yeah,
cutscene's nice, but you're not showing off a movie. You're showing off a game, and oh well. So, hey, remember Doom? Yeah,
and this
it it
was
came out like a
hilarious.
month ago, and it's awesome. Well, we've got more map stuff and multiplayer modes and maps
Yeah,
and monsters and armors and taunts and weapons, and it's like great. And the first
yeah,
level of Doom is downloadable for free on Steam. Woo! I'm like, okay.
cool
And
for
it
this
took me
week.
it actually took me a solid week to find that damn I finally found it today. It's on the main Doom page and it's on the right side. It says free demo, but
Yeah,
the color and font just blends into the sidebar. So I don't know
yeah.
if it wasn't there the first couple of days or if I just kept overlooking it. But
Yeah,
oh well.
but that whole thing was just super annoying to me because they were like, "Hey, you guys remember shareware? We had this. It was really awesome where you got part of the game for free and then you just bought the rest of it, and it was awesome. And we used to use this all the time to sell our games. It was so cool. Well, guess what? We forgot what shareware is, and you get one level for free for 1 week. It's like, what?
Yeah.
You guys are stupid."
Oh,
But,
and Doom
yeah,
Doom and Fallout 4 will work in the HTC Vive.
yeah,
Yay. Um,
yeah.
13U Cube asks if this episode is going to take 3 days, 1 day for each day of E3. No, it's going to take a couple hours. Asks
Yeah.
if if our audience should be paying us overtime, and yes, you should be paying us overtime. So make sure that you pay us 1.5 times what you normally pay us for this show.
Yes, definitely.
Um, yeah,
Let's see.
the demo
Yeah.
is only for a week, so if I don't play it today, I probably won't get to play it. Or maybe I'll still have it tomorrow. Last on the there's
Oh
DLC
no,
for
they.
Elder Scrolls Online. Another
Yeah, that. Yeah,
another hey, Elder Scrolls. You remember ESO? It's like, yeah, it's
yeah,
been out for a long time. More
yeah,
DLC. Great.
and the best part of that trailer for me was the bit. They were showing all these epic battles with giant monsters, and then they show little crabs on the beach. I thought that was hilarious. Seriously, that was hilarious. They went from epic battles to smacking crabs with swords
A
and
lot of crab violence this year.
yeah.
So we finally get to Dishonored 2.
Well,
Which
they did. Well, no, before
did
that,
I
they
miss
did
something?
Elder Scrolls Dark Brotherhood. So,
Oh yeah,
which was basically, Bethesda responding to us the Assassin's Creed franchise, from what I gathered.
uh,
That's what it felt like to me as I watched the presentation. Was they were making their own Assassin's Creed, and then they went into Dishonored 2.
yeah. So Dishonored 2, it's still coming. Which is interesting because it looks a little early still.
Yeah,
Some of the animations are a little janky, just a little unpolished. It looks like it still has about a year to go, but apparently it's coming out November 11th. So,
Yeah.
oh, and you can hear better if you see people way over there. If you look at them through a telescope, you can hear them better. No, that's not how that works.
No, it's
But
not.
whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, I like I said, I didn't play the first Dishonored, so I wasn't too excited about this one. But they did show a lot. This was probably one of their most detailed game presentations, for
Yeah,
the entire show. It's like
well,
everything else was just trailers and talk,
well,
and this one they actually showed
they
stuff.
did show some gameplay. Although the first, while they were first talking about it, they showed no gameplay, just environment pans.
Yeah.
Just the camera was panning through the environment, and that's where I was really focusing on a lot of the character animation. It was just kind of janky and unpolished still,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
that'll probably be cleaned up.
Hopefully.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. The Shadow Walk looks cool, which is this like you summon a little shadow beast that kind of crawls crawls across the floor and picks someone up and pulls them apart like a wishbone. It's kind of neat. Um,
Yeah.
this, Dishonored has never really appealed to me. Maybe it's the art style or something. It just doesn't grab me. I don't know. Let's see. All right, so that was Bethesda, and
But yeah.
that was Sunday. So moving on to Microsoft.
Yay, the first event of Monday.
Yeah,
So yeah, the
Xbox Ones,
yep,
Xbones,
the X Bones. They're coming out with the X Bone.
$299.
Yeah, which is actually a decent price
Yeah,
for
and
it. And
the non S, the single bone is they lowered it to 279, something like
I don't know,
that.
something like that.
They're dropping it a bit.
But yeah, but it's
Um,
actually yes, it's surprisingly smaller. I'm very surprised that they were actually able to shrink it that much. And apparently, it still does not. This one is not going to have a power brick. So the power supply is inside the X Bones. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, so very
so
interesting.
Microsoft is having a. This is interesting because they keep. Microsoft seems to be de-incentivizing anyone from actually buying an Xbox One because
Yes.
there is nothing exclusive to the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Uh,
Everything is coming out on the Xbox One and
and
Windows 10.
right.
And there is crossplay between the two platforms. You can play multiplayer. If you're on your Xbox One, you can play with people that are playing on their PC and vice versa. So it's like, yeah, they're really decent. Yeah, de-incentivizing.
Well,
The
I mean
actual
that is cool. You
console.
can sit
So
at home, play on your console, and then if you have to go on a trip or something, you can play on your laptop. And but it's weird because it's like, well, you can play on Xbox One or Windows 10, which we know you have because we forced it on you. I know a lot of us may probably have Windows 10 on accident now. It's like, no, I'm happy with 7, thank you. We're gonna download it anyway. What? No. um,
yeah,
weird, kind of weird. But anyway, so the first thing they
yeah.
showed off was Gears of War 4, Gears of 4,
Yeah.
which actually had a game demo, which I was very happy to see. However, it had the worst scripted dialogue I have ever heard. It was ham-fisted and
you
over expository. It was,
you
here
you
come the bad guys. Now here come more. That's the Geralberschnitz monster. We should shoot it with our gun. Take that. Ha ha ha. And it's like, oh my God, this is the worst character banter I have ever heard in a game ever.
yeah. I don't know.
Microsoft started a trend. This is one of the things. This is probably the thing that irritated me most about all of the conferences. And Microsoft started doing this. Whoever was directing the camera kept cutting away from the damn footage so that they could show the audience or the person pretending to play the game. And
Yeah,
I'm looking at my notes and I'm getting more and more profane and angry as I write stuff like, stop cutting away from the direct feed, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to vent that on Twitter a couple of times too, because that just drives me nuts. It's like I'm watching this game trailer and then all of a sudden, where'd the game go? I'm looking at the freaking audience. Or I'm looking at the stage and there's like 3 screens going on at once, and I'm like, which one am I supposed to focus on? But yeah, I don't care much for Gears of War, and I thought their Gears of War controller skin was just one of the ugliest things I've ever seen.
The Gears 4 branded Elite controller, yeah.
It
was kind of ugly.
I didn't think that.
It looks like a cat. It looked like a cat chewed on it or something.
I know. It's like, this is supposed to make. This is something that you want me to show off to my friends when they come visit at my house. No, this is ugly.
The chainsaw controller they made for Resident Evil 4, that was kitschy, but that was cool in a way.
You couldn't actually use it to play because it just. How do you hold it?
This looks like something that a Saint Bernard has been playing with in its mouth in the backyard for 6 weeks. It's just not a really attractive controller. But Noxus says the problem with the Gears of War 4 is that the cast of characters look like CW actors and sound like it too. Oh my God, such terrible dialogue. But whatever. The game could be goofy fun. It seems like. Because the first few Gears games were very self-serious, which is kind of weird choice for a game with a chainsaw built into a gun, but whatever. It could be fun. So next they showed Killer Instinct, and they said, and we've got a character from Gears of War who's now in Killer Instinct. I'm like, Marcus Phoenix? Nope, it's General Ram.
Yeah, it's like they had some other
bad guy.
They had some other characters in there. One from Halo and another game of theirs, and I'm just like, I don't care. Sorry.
And right. They have a Halo character, but it's not Master Chief. It's not Cortana. It's not even random Spartan number 264. It's one of the alien dudes, the Arbiter or something. I'm like, maybe I'd have to be a bigger fan of Halo and Gears of War for these to be cool. But as someone who just kind of appreciates them from afar, I'm like, that's an odd choice for character. I mean, it would be like, and now we have a guest character from God of War. Hermes. What? Why?
That's what it would be like.
We're just kidding. Aphrodite. Oh, kisses attack. That actually could be pretty funny if she's a ranged fighter and blows kisses.
They did have Orchid, and she was a little sexy with her kill, final kills and stuff.
She flashes them, but Aphrodite's above that. She's a lot classier.
Yeah.
Although the redesign for Orchid is pretty cool. All right. Moving on.
Then they did Forza
Horizon 3. Don't care.
Yeah, and that one was actually kind of weird because they brought out 4 people to play the game.
I don't believe any of them are actually playing that game, not for a demo.
No, not at all. But they brought out 4 people, and they all start in vastly different vehicles, for different race styles, and they're all in their own racetracks. And then it's like halfway through this thing, they all join up in the same race or something like that. And I'm like, how does this work? How does the guy driving the Ferrari race the guy driving the dune buggy? That's like not even in the same league here. And it's like, and what happens to the Ferrari guy when the track goes into the sand? Yeah.
It's like, oh no, not the sand, not the sand. I just had my Ferrari washed. What it looks like is when you join another player's race, and boy, my hair is falling apart. When you join another character's race, apparently like a helicopter or something just kind of picks you up and then plops you down in the other person's race that you're joining. So that's a way to do it, I suppose. But
Yeah.
racing games bore the hell out of me, so I care not for
you really got to have
Horizon 3.
Yeah, you really got to have a good pitch for me to care about a racing game.
Yeah.
I think the only racing games I ever really cared about were Jet Moto on the original PlayStation, where you drive a hover bike, and Mario Kart. It's like that's all the racing games I've ever played that I actually enjoyed. So,
and Matthew points out it's apparently an open world driving game. Technically, I still don't care.
Yeah,
driving cars bores me. You know, as a side mini game in, for instance, the True Crime Streets of LA has races in it, drag races. You know, as a little side mini game. Fine, it's fun to drive the car around, but as an entire game, nope. But then again, you're also talking to the guy who doesn't like Mario Kart. Mario Kart bores the hell out of me. I kind of love Mario Kart
because you have no friends.
That's true. I love Mario Kart from a Nintendo fanboy perspective. I love the Nintendo love. I love all the characters in the arenas and the props and all this. It's the same reason I love Smash Brothers, just from a Nintendo fanboy perspective. But I have no interest in playing either of those games. They bore the hell out of me. Scotty, back to my talking about some odd character choices as guest characters, says he's reminded when they had Spawn as a character in Soul Calibur 2. And that was where it's Soul Calibur 2. In Nintendo's version, you get Link from The Legend of Zelda. Ah, cool. And in the Sony version, you get, I think, Heihachi from Tekken.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, cool, okay. And for the Xbox, you get, well, it's got to be Master Chief, right? I mean, Halo is the only thing that the Xbox is known for. Spawn! Spawn?
Yeah.
Todd McFarlane's Spawn? I mean, okay, cool, but you really had nothing, didn't you?
Pretty much, yeah.
And then they in Soul Calibur 3, was it? Or Soul Calibur 4, they had Star Wars characters. I think Yoda was in the PlayStation 1, and Darth Vader was the Xbox.
Yeah, and then they had the guy from that other Star Wars game that came out at the time. I forget what that one was called. I don't know. I forget what it was called. But they had another Star Wars character, and I think he was in all of them, all the Soul Calibur 4s. But yeah.
Noxus says Spawn is awesome, and I agree. Spawn is awesome, especially the HBO show was a lot of fun. But it was just Link, Legend of Zelda, got it. Heihachi from Tekken. Okay, not really who I think of for PlayStation, but at least a franchise that is known for the PlayStation. Okay, and Spawn. It's like, was there even a Spawn game? I mean, there is one. I'm not sure when it came out in relation to Soul Calibur 2, but it was just a really odd choice. Matthew says Mario Kart should become Nintendo Kart and include all of Nintendo's characters. I'd be fine with that.
Is Link gonna ride a chicken around?
No, well, Link's already in Mario Kart 8.
Is he?
He has a motorcycle that's kind of vaguely shaped like a horse, and he has a really goofy expression on his face, which, if it weren't for the Luigi death stare, that probably would have became a meme.
Probably. Yeah.
Were you thinking of Star Killer from the Force Unleashed games?
Yes, that's what it is. Because I was thinking Force Awakens, and I'm like, no, it's not Force Awakens because that's the movie. But yeah,
Star Killer, because Star Killer's real name is actually Marvin, but no, not the most intimidating name, so I went with Star Killer. Where were we? Oh, Recore
Oh,
is next. Recore.
yeah, they
They showed
finally
some
showed some
footage,
gameplay,
and
and it looks good.
yeah,
I think it looks good. It was one
robot
of those
shooting,
games that,
platforming. Sure.
yeah, it was one of those games that I thought was a great concept last year, but I wanted to see some gameplay, and they
You're right.
finally showed
At
some
least the
gameplay,
concept of
and
what we could infer from the
yeah,
no gameplay trailer.
yeah, but they finally showed some gameplay, and it actually looks
Echo.
like it could be fun.
Yeah.
There was some reviews that I read from some people who actually got to play the demo at E3, and they said that the gameplay was pretty solid, but they weren't sure how that was going to stretch over the course of the entire game. You know, whether they could mix it up enough to keep it interesting.
I
But
think probably what's going to happen is you'll just get more and more robots with different abilities.
probably so. But yeah, but Recore, that's probably, if I got an Xbox One, that would probably be one of the first games I got for it, because there's really
Yeah.
nothing else out there that
Matthew
really
points out
interests
that
me.
Recore is also a budget title. Well, of course it is, because most of that money had to be spent on Mighty Number 9 and the Mighty Number 9 sequel and the Mighty Number 9 anime and comic books and t-shirts and lunchboxes, because it's
Is it
going to
made
be
by the
popular
same guy?
totally. Yeah, Recore I'm pretty sure is Inafune and Concept.
Yeah.
So, or at least in collaboration with. So, Noxus says I like the design of the woman in Recourse. She looks cool. The protagonist, yeah,
Yeah.
neat character design. Um,
Okay. Yeah, the producer is Inafune. Its developers is Armature Studios and Concept. So yeah.
okay. Oh, Matthew's pointing out that the game is being sold for $30. So a budget, as in it's not being sold for a full 60. Okay.
Well, then that's probably means that it's going to be a fairly short game
Mm.
in respect to other games out there. So probably good 10 hours of gameplay, maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, comes out in September. We'll see. Moving
so,
on. Final Fantasy. Oh, 15. Yes, Final Fantasy
yeah.
15. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So I think it looks terrible. I
Yeah.
Heresy. I know. I am not feeling this game at all. Oh, $40 for Recore. Okay. Yeah, Final Fantasy 15. I'm not feeling it at all. Comes out in September.
Well, and it's an
They
MMO. So
Yeah. So they demoed
yeah.
it. And I wasn't sure. I was believing that this one was actually being played live because I thought it was either broken or that the person playing it sucked, because it was like 5 or 6 minutes of this guy just being repeatedly slapped by a giant. I'm like, is something broken? Do you suck, or do you not realize how boring this is because no one can figure out what the hell's what they're looking at? It wasn't
Oh,
clear.
15 is single player. Okay. I
Mhm.
could have sworn they were presenting it like it was an MMO.
No,
And
no, that's
so
but yeah,
yeah.
I'm not feeling the gameplay. I'm not pretty. I'll give it that, but
Yeah.
not digging the aesthetic. Not nope,
Yeah,
not
well,
for me.
they've moved away from actual, random battles, turn-based battles, which was what Final Fantasy was known for, and they moved away from that, starting with 12, and they just kept getting further and further away from it. Now this is more like a party-based Elder Scrolls type gameplay, and I'm just not really feeling it. So I haven't played a Final Fantasy game since Final Fantasy X2, or 10-2. So I
I, the last one I really I played all the way through was 3 or 6 or whichever one was North America's 3,
yeah,
which I think is
I've
6.
played every one except for Final Fantasy 2, the Japanese numbering. That's the only one I
Yeah,
haven't played up to 10-2, and that's when I stopped.
yeah.
So
I've played some of 7. I felt it was overrated. It's
yes,
good. Don't get me wrong. I just felt it was overrated.
yeah,
Um,
I actually saw a meme the other day. It's like Final Fantasy is considered the best Final Fantasy by people who've only ever played Final Fantasy VII. So
yeah, it almost feels that way.
yeah.
It does. I mean, I don't want to crap on anyone's opinion, but it's like Final Fantasy VII is your favorite RPG. Have you played any other RPGs, really?
Yeah.
So
But yeah, I Final Fantasy VI is my favorite out of the series. I think that 8 and 9 are better than Final Fantasy VII, but I'm in a very small minority in that opinion, apparently. But yeah, all right. But let's
I
see.
like Skies of Arcadia better.
Yeah,
So let's see
definitely.
what was next. There's an expansion for The Division, and it comes to the
Yeah,
Xbox first. But yay, I don't care.
yeah.
So
And then
they
they showed more Battlefield 1 after
well,
that.
no, not really more. It was the same trailer from EA show.
Yeah, it was the same trailer, but yeah, they showed it again. So you didn't miss anything if you skipped that segment and
So
watched E3s. But something that really surprised me with Microsoft's announcement is, or their conference is, they're finally allowing you to pick your language regardless of what region you're in.
yeah,
And
I
I
was like,
saw
that
that.
wasn't already a thing, really?
Yeah, I'm like that's something so simple and necessary that it's surprising that it's just now happening, because people live in different regions but speak different languages. You know, people have moved from Germany to the U.S. and would like to play their console in German. You know, but and various other combinations of location and language. And so yeah, it was very surprising. I was very surprised when they announced that. I was just had no clue that wasn't already a feature.
Yeah, well, they announced a bunch of stuff. Xbox Live's coming to iOS and Android and PC. All right. Now you can set background music and language
Yeah,
settings and
that
Cortana, which is that Siri thing.
yeah, the background music thing, just I was just like, who doesn't have a radio that they can just turn on and play the music on their radio? But I don't know. So
So, set system language, English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. So the Wii U already does that. Okay.
yeah,
Just, I was just curious
just
about
looking at
that.
the PS3.
Yeah, let's check the PS3 here. Settings, security, sound, display. No, I don't want to quit the game. I didn't save. Printer, accessory, power, date and time, themes, system settings might be in there. Music, video, games. I can't really check because I'm in the middle of a game. But yeah, I was like, wait, language options? It's not a thing? Wow. Okay. Well, I'm
Yeah,
a little surprised. But okay. So, and we're get community stuff like clubs, and you can create a want ad to find other gamers to play with. Cool. And
yeah,
there's going to be some arena tournament platform thing. Okay. And
yeah,
all right, so those are all nice. So
yeah. And then they've
Minecraft.
been on
Oh, go
Minecraft.
ahead.
They're
Yeah.
trying to get their $2.5 billion worth out of Minecraft.
Yeah.
And then they announced their Minecraft Realms, which is going to be they're making the whole thing cross-platform and everything. So you can play. Right now, it's just going to be mobile and Xbox and PC. But eventually, it'll come to just mobile and Xbox, or I don't know. But yeah, people who are playing on the PS3, PS4, Wii U, all that stuff won't get this for another year, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, consoles are next year. New texture packs and add-ons are for the
Yeah,
various platforms like PC, iOS, Android, Windows 10, Gear, VR.
yeah,
More at Minecon. Oh, and you can order a custom designed controller. What that means is there's a bunch of different faceplates and buttons, and you can engrave it.
fun.
Yay. Cool.
Yeah.
That's fine. I no idea how much that's going to cost. I'm sure it's been announced at some point. So, Inside, I believe this is from the developers of Limbo. Um, they wow. If you didn't already know what this game was, if I were voting on worst presentation of any game at any conference, I think Inside would pick it up because they showed no gameplay. In fact, all they showed was a very stark black and white, very desaturated, not black and white, but very desaturated color palette of an office, like a guy standing in an office building with other
Yeah.
people. That's it. They showed nothing.
Yeah.
If you had no idea that this was from the developers of Limbo and it's essentially that game only like Limbo plus plus or Super Limbo or something like that. I, it amazing. They should have taken a 2 minutes and just shown a bit of the game because it's enormously charming's probably the wrong word. Captivating. It's a gorgeous
Yeah.
game. It's very emotionally evocative. That's something they should have showed off. They even called it a masterpiece. I'm like, yeah, a masterpiece, but you're not going to show any of it. But you do get Limbo free on Xbox One, so yay.
Yeah, and I own Limbo and I still have not played it, so I don't know.
It's
Yeah, so I
drops the ending, in my humble opinion, completely drops the ball, but absolutely worthwhile experience for the maybe 2 hours it lasts. Very, very short game, but it's paced very well for what it is, and it is fun. But story-wise, it completely face plants at the end.
yeah.
It's one of those games that has a great ending, and then it goes like 20 seconds further and completely face plants. It's so frustrating. It's like, no, you blew it. You because it has this ending, and you're like, whoa, man, my mind is like blown. That's so awesome. And then you run further to the right, and something happens. You're like, what? No, no, that what? And then I went on line and I read some theories as to what the ending means, and I was like, no, that's not correct because of other stuff. I mean, the game's only 2 hours long. It's not like I forgot all this stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
Limbo's still worth playing.
Yeah.
So then there was an indie games montage.
Yeah.
Cuphead looks cool. Visually, I like it anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
Cuphead still looks awesome. And
Slime
then
Rancher was in there, and I just like the name. I'm not even sure how that plays, but I like the idea of ranching some slimes.
yeah. Let's see, and after that we had We Happy Few, and
It's Equilibrium.
yeah,
At least the story is. I have no idea how the game actually works because they didn't really show any gameplay, which the only thing that why on earth would you have a guy on the stage playing a game that barely has any gameplay? To be clear, I really like the aesthetic of We Happy Few. I like the look, I like the feel, I like the world and the music. But from the presentation, you have no earthly clue how this game plays because it's in first person. You're a guy sitting there censoring newspapers, and you go off your drugs, and someone comes in and says, "Are you off your drugs?" And you go, "No." And she goes, "Good. I'll see you at the birthday party." And so here's the first point. At this point, I imagine that you can swivel your character's head, but then you can press button to stand up from your chair. And then you just walk down a single hallway, and you can look at all the stuff around you until you get to the room with the birthday party in it. And then press A to hit the piñata, which turns out to be a dead rat. And it's like, oh my God, that's disgusting. And she goes, "You are off your drugs. You're a downer," which is a really clever, because the drug is called joy, which makes you happy. And so if you're not joyful, you're a downer. And I think that's pretty clever. So, so how the game actually works is it is a procedurally generate or not procedurally generated, but randomly generated map that basically you have to escape to the exit. It's like you, sir, are being hunted.
Yeah.
It's a randomly generated environment, so it's roguelike in that way, in which a new environment each time, and so you wander around and scavenge food and drugs and try not to get killed by the police who are coming after you. And I don't know if there are guns, but you can pick things up you can punch people and you can pick things up off the floor and clock them over the head. So it's that kind of a game, but again, this feels like the presentation feels like we had this really great movie, but Hollywood said no, so we made a game instead. A lot of games feel like they're made by frustrated filmmakers, you know? And
Yeah.
that's not to take anything away from what's probably a cool story and a very cool world, but it is a video game, guys. If your video game if I come away from your video game presentation saying, okay, but what is the game? You have failed, in my ever so
Yeah.
humble opinion. So,
Well,
but now that I know what the game actually is, probably not for me because I don't like procedurally generated games typically. But I'll keep my eye on it. Might be cool.
okay.
Boo, 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 boo. Jet Dan's been up for 48 hours but wants to watch the Hobbit trilogy. Why would you want to watch the Hobbit trilogy even if you were well rested?
Go
I
back and
saw
watch the animated Hobbit, and
the
that's all.
Rankin Bass, yeah.
Yeah.
I, I saw them. I saw the 3 films in the theater. That was enough.
Yeah. I think it was two
Here's one of
movies
those
too long.
tangents. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was 2 movies too long. I think you could argue and successfully stretch the book into 2 movies, but
Sure.
not 3. I think what they could have done was they could have had 2 really solid halves of The Hobbit, and then a third uh, connected film where with Gandalf's fight with the necromancer, all that stuff
You
in
know,
its own movie.
I still
Uh,
overall I still enjoyed the Hobbit trilogy. I give it crap, but the reason I give it crap is because it's nowhere, in my opinion, of course, but it's nowhere near as good as the Lord of the Rings
oh
movies.
no,
Still
it's not.
enjoyed them, but
Yeah,
I own the Lord of the Rings movies. I never
I,
felt the urge to buy the
yeah.
Hobbit movies.
I still haven't seen the third Hobbit movie,
Oh,
and
really?
so it's like I watched the first one, I watched the second one, and fell asleep at the end,
Mm.
and I haven't felt the desire to watch the third one yet. So
All right.
one of
So,
these days I'll actually watch it. But
getting back to E3, next we were showed Gwent, the Witcher card game. So
yeah,
there's a mini game in Witcher called Gwent, and they decided to make a full blown game out of it. And
yeah,
they showed a little commercial for it, and it had some of the worst cosplay I have ever seen. What I mean by that is the commercial had a Geralt, whatever the Witcher, the dude on the
yeah, Geralt, yeah,
they had an actor dressed up as him, and it was embarrassingly bad. I mean, it's like some of the worst. You will see better cosplay at Comic Con in the coming weeks. It was
yeah.
kind of terrible. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I've never played The Witcher, so I don't know how Gwent plays, and so I'm not all too keen on that one. But again, I just noticed just how many card games are coming out these
yeah,
days.
yeah.
They've really made a resurgence, and so maybe it's just one of those things. It's that time. If you aren't already making a card game, then don't even bother, because by the time you're actually done, they're not gonna, nobody's gonna care anymore.
True.
But
I think the card games are cool. I don't know if I'd want, for example, I'm of course playing Yakuza, and there's a ton of mini games, and they're great and they're fun, but I don't think I'd really want any one of them as its own full-fledged game. I think they work great in a larger game as a side distraction, kind of like races. I think racing games should always be a mini game in a larger game, not a game in and of itself. But a lot of people really love Gwent, and that was really from what I understand, a fan request, and they were like, okay, cool, we can do that. Going off topic again, River says part of the reason the 3 Hobbit films was because were not as great as Lord of the Rings is because Peter Jackson only had a couple months pre-production time as opposed to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which had several years. And that's true. There was a 10-minute behind the scenes video released on YouTube or wherever, which was the most shockingly candid behind the scenes look I have ever seen for a major Hollywood film. And they were right up front. They're like, why are these movies not good? Because we were making everything up as we went along because we had no pre-production time. Lord of the Rings, we had years to plan everything out. It was hard, but we knew exactly what we were doing. The Hobbit, in fact, it says something like, you know how it was originally 2 films? And then it was 3, and then the 3rd film got pushed back 6 months. Reason is because we had no idea what the hell we were doing and knew we just needed more time to make stuff up as we were going. So Jet Dan says, did I hear about the Ghostbusters Loot Crate exclusive? Nope, but if it's Ghostbusters, I'm interested, so do tell. Okay, so Gwent. Oh, Tekken 7.
Tekken 7, that I'm actually looking forward to that game. I like the cinematic transition between cinematic and then fight. You're watching the 2 characters banter and pick on each other, and then when they go in for the punch, that's when the battle actually starts. There's no load screens or anything like that. I like that. I'm a huge fan of fighting games that have strong story elements.
Yeah.
It was one of the reasons I was drawn to the Soul Calibur series, Soul Edge, when it was first released, was because it had that story mode where you had cutscenes, you walked along this map, you got into fights and all this stuff. That was really cool. I loved it. And then Soul Calibur 5 comes out, and the story mode is just... And I was just like, that's terrible. What did you guys do to this franchise?
I really like the way that the last 2 Mortal Kombat games have been doing story. Well, and the other stuff that NetherRealm's been working on, the DC versus Mortal Kombat and the Injustice games.
Injustice games, yeah, those are cool. And I think Tekken 7 looks great, and I want to play it. It's one of those few games from this E3 that I'm just like, yes, I want to play this game.
And I wrote down in my notes, stop cutting away, God damn it.
Yes, I did that somewhere around here too.
So early 2017 for Tekken 17, Tekken 7, and Xbox Live Gold members get free Tekken Tag Tournament 2.
Yay. Okay.
So next is Dead Rising 4.
Yeah, I wrote Yawn Zombie Game.
Oh, yeah.
That was my note.
Sure, but this is Dead Rising, so it gets a pass. And Frank Welker? No, Frank, he's covered Wars, you know? What the hell's the character's name? Frank, shoot, what's Dead Rising's Frank's last name? Anyway, Frank is back. And I wrote, stop F word cutting away. So Frank is back, and Frank West, thank you, West. Thank you, River. Frank West, and it looks like Frank has had a little plastic surgery because he's not as ugly as he's been. And that's one of the things that I think everyone really loves about Frank is he's kind of an ugly dude. He looks like he's had his nose broken a few times. He's just kind of a weird looking, not like, oh God, but not a, now he's actually really attractive now. So I don't know if Frank has had a bit of work done, but he's, because he was always, especially when his cameo in the second game, he's portrayed as not really handsome, little overweight. Not like a big
Yeah,
bulking cut guy like most characters are. In this game, it looks like he may have the same physique. It's hard to tell with the costumes they had him in, but
yeah,
one thing I noticed is that the trailer said coming to Xbox One and Windows 10, and I was thinking, so it's not exclusive to Microsoft? No, it's a timed exclusive. Probably kind of like Rise of the Tomb Raider. It probably
yeah,
won't hit PS4, maybe NX, and for a year, but
yeah,
it will be a timed exclusive for Microsoft platforms. And
yeah.
comes out holiday 2016, so it comes out the end of the year. This one is Christmas themed. So it takes place. So there's Christmas lights and Christmas trees and candy canes, and I'm sure there will be a zombie Santa in there somewhere. Um,
Probably. Yeah,
However, the game, at least the areas that they showed off, were a little a little dark, a little grim. It seemed a little incongruous with the light tone of Dead Rising in general, and it kind of had the tone and color palette of the third game, which I thought was not correct for that franchise, especially when it's Christmas time. But
yeah,
Noxus says if photography comes back in Dead Rising 4, you'll be happy. You should be happy because at the very least you can take selfies of stuff and choose different facial expressions for Frank. Uh,
nice.
you can staple a zombie to a wall with a candy cane gun and then take a selfie with your tongue sticking out or something. So Dead Rising 4, that could be really cool.
Yeah,
Next was a game that looks horrible to me, Scalebound.
yeah. It's kind of a mix of fantasy and modern technology type stuff, and um, with giant battles that were really, really, really annoying because the main character just kept yelling commands that were just so frustrating. It's just like, shut up and just fight. Um, it's like, ooh, weak spot. We should go and hit that. And it's like, yeah, that's what you normally do with a weak spot. It's like, all right, now let's go and jump on its heart and kill it. Dragon, come in and shoot this thing. And it's like, golly, shut up.
Yeah, this uh, man, I love Platinum, but this looks kind of meh. And
Yeah,
I really don't like the lead character with his douchey headphones and stuff. That's something that
yeah,
bothers me about any action character who does this is a douchebag. And everyone from this character in Scalebound to Jennifer Beals' character in Blade 3, Blade Trinity, I think it was called.
yeah,
It's supposed to be I'm so badass I listen to a playlist while I'm kicking ass. It's like that's stupid
yeah.
because then
And
you can't hear anything, idiot.
yeah. And I wrote in my notes, it's like, okay, does this character actually put on Beats headphones? Because those look like Beats headphones. And I'm
Maybe.
just like, I thought Beats headphones were something you only see in music videos. Apparently Beats has invaded the video game scene now. So starting with this game, every game is going to have a character wearing Beats headphones or carrying around a Beats pill. And that's what that's what you're going to see in all video games from now on.
Yeah, which is interesting. It's a game. It's about your character and his giant pet dragon. I'm like, that sounds awesome, but this game does not look awesome. It
No,
looks
it doesn't.
annoying.
Yeah,
Maybe it was just a bad presentation, but
probably, but I remember seeing the trailer last year
yeah,
and thinking, okay, this could be cool. But yeah, this the trailer, the gameplay they showed just did not look all that great to me. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, so
So Sea of Thieves is next, and I wrote down,
and
no one cares about the audience. Stop effing cutting away. Um, well,
yeah,
at first they didn't show any gameplay. They just showed like little camera pans through dioramas, little
yeah,
scenes frozen in time that they set up. Then they show, so it's a pirate MMO, and
yeah, and that really
they
disappointed
uh,
me.
it was
Yeah,
interesting. They showed some gameplay, and they did an interesting thing. They collected a bunch of people from the Sea of Thieves community, which I thought was kind of weird that you would have a community for Sea of Thieves since there's no game yet. But anyway, they got a bunch of people to play the game, and the gameplay video was edited together from just a bunch of people playing or pretending to play Sea of Thieves, and not a game for me. I
Yeah,
don't like you're in a world, go do what you want kind of thing. I like more of a directed experience, even though I do like open world. I just hate playing with other people, I think is
yeah.
what it
See,
is.
I like pirate games, but don't I don't think making it an MMO or co-op or whatever this is, I don't think that is going to appeal to a lot of people, because the way they're presenting it is it's you and like half a dozen of your friends are the crew on a ship, and you're going out and doing stuff like pirates do.
Hmm.
But to me, that just doesn't seem right, because it doesn't seem like something that is appealing, because only one person gets to be the captain. Somebody has to be the cabin boy, and nobody wants to be the cabin boy. So, but somebody's going to get stuck being the cabin boy, and they're going to have a terrible experience. And that's what it comes across to me as.
Hmm.
And I don't think that's going to be very appealing. I think people who like pirate games are going to stick with Sid Meier's Pirates, or that Assassin's Creed Black Flag game where you
Hmm.
actually got to take command of your own ship, and that was everybody's experience, because nobody wants to be the cabin boy.
Yeah.
So
So next they showed State of Decay 2, which they showed no gameplay from,
yeah,
just a
another
pre-rendered
zombie game.
cutscene. So yeah, zombie MMO, I guess.
Uh, let's
So
see, and then
that was it. The Halo
yeah,
Wars 2 was next. No gameplay. February 2017.
yeah,
Oh,
and
then they
I
showed
was
gameplay after they announced the date, right?
Yeah, and I was very surprised about Halo Wars 2, because I didn't think the first Halo Wars was that popular of a game to warrant a sequel, but I guess it is. Um, so I guess people like a Halo real-time
Yeah.
strategy game. So
Yeah, cool.
uh,
I mean, the opening no gameplay thing they showed was artistic and neat, although it was one of several trends of super serious, slow, moody music moving in slow motion. I'm like, "Ah, get your head out of your ass, video games." But Noxus says State of Decay 1 is awesome and 2 isn't an MMO. Nearly was an MMO though. Okay, maybe that's where I'm thinking of it. Sure as hell can't tell from the trailer.
no,
I'm basing it based on what I barely remember of State of Decay 1, which I didn't play.
yeah,
See, again, this is why they trick, because I have not, just based on that trailer, no earthly clue what the hell that game is. So it's a car, and you drive over zombies, and I guess maybe I don't know.
uh,
So
uh,
anyway, let's see. Halo Wars 2. Oh, then they announced Xbox One Scorpio, or just Project Scorpio, which should be
yeah,
out in 2017 somewhere, and it's
yeah.
backwards compatible with the Xbox One and Xbox One S, and they're announcing it now so developers can get to work. But from what we've been hearing, essentially the Scorpio is just Xbox if you have a 4K TV, because someone at
Pretty
Microsoft
much,
went on record
and
and said
VR.
if you don't have a 4K TV, don't bother buying the Scorpio because it's not going to do anything for you. So what
Yeah.
it sounds like is this unit simply just runs games in it's not a new console, it's just it will run the
Well,
games
and
in 4K mode.
but it also has but it also has better VR support than the other one too.
Okay.
So if you're going to be playing VR or on a 4K, get this. But if you're not doing either one, don't bother. Get the Xbox One S, or something. But yeah, this is one of those things. Again, it's like, how many people actually own a 4K capable TV?
Well,
I
maybe
know
they are coming down in price, and maybe more will buy 2017. But the thing with 4K is you have to have a fairly large television for 4K to even matter. I mean, you have to have
Yeah,
at
I
least
think
50
yeah,
inch
exactly.
television for that to matter. And I mean
I've
that's
got
not an unreasonable size. I have a 60-inch TV.
yeah,
So
I've got a 36 and a 32 inch. So
yeah,
those,
so
yeah, um, so yeah, I just yeah don't really know what is going to appeal to people with the Scorpio, but
well, 4K mode, but the games might run marginally better.
yeah,
You know,
possibly.
more stable frame rates and such, which Matthew just put up. Uh,
But
so
that was the end of their
that was the end of
press.
the, and I wrote at the end lots of slow, sad music over slow-mo presentations. A lot of trailers doing that this year.
Yeah,
So moving on
uh,
to Ubisoft,
yeah,
who
they
I
opened
will
with one of the
give worst
weirdest.
conference of the show,
They
simply
had one of the
because it was
weirdest.
2 damn hours long.
Oh yeah,
You know, the
that
first hour was fine. I thought it was well paced. I thought they were doing things fine, but then it just went on forever, and I got really, really bored.
yeah, but they opened up with one of the weirdest dance numbers ever, and I
Um,
was just
I don't mean to be an overly critical ass, but here are my notes: bad walkover, bad front kick, bad breakdance, flag shorts aren't staying in place. Um, I I don't know if these are professionals or if they only had or if these were like all understudies or eighth tier dancers, but it was not very good. Not saying I can dance any
they,
better,
they
but
they grabbed a bunch of homeless guys off the street, put them in costumes, and said, "Go out there and pretend like you're dancing."
uh, well, I mean, they knew what they were doing. It just wasn't good. Uh,
It wasn't very well choreographed. That's for sure.
yeah, I
They were
mean,
just
the
all over the
actual, a
place.
lot of the individual dancers were just not very good at the moves.
Was it Left Shark bad or not quite Left Shark bad?
Left shark?
Oh, you don't know the Left Shark meme? I forget
Nope.
I forget what singer it was, but there was this live show this singer was putting on, and they had this person dressed up as a shark on stage with them, and it was to the left of the main the actual singer, and this Left Shark guy, they call him Left Shark because he was to the left of the main
Okay.
person, but this person in the shark costume just looked like they had absolutely no idea what was going on in the show, and they were just kind of okay, I'm doing this number, and yeah, I'm awesome because I'm Left Shark. um, you can look it up on YouTube and you'll find it pretty
Hmm.
quickly, but it was a meme for a while. But yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it was just a generally bad performance, or
Yeah.
that happens even with a excellent professional troupe. Sometimes you have a bad day and it's contagious and everyone sucks. That happens.
Yeah.
I've been a part of really good groups that just had a really rough performance. It does happen. And it wasn't bad. There was just individual stuff, like I wrote down bad walkover. Someone did a front walkover and it was just not very well executed. Um,
Mhm.
anyway, Just Dance 2017 announced for the NX. They actually
And that's
specifically
like
announced it for the NX.
the
I thought that was
one game
interesting.
of the entire conference that wasn't from Nintendo to be announced coming for the NX. Uh, so that was yeah, that was not surprising
No.
that Just Dance is
Ubisoft
coming to the
probably doesn't
NX,
even know
but
what the NX is. They're just, we can put them on the Wii. I'm sure we can put them on the NX, whatever it is.
yeah,
So,
but yeah, no other studio, no other publisher, no other games
not
from
even Nintendo.
anything said it's coming out on the NX. Well, Zelda said Zelda's coming out on the NX, but they showed just Wii U gameplay the entire time. But yeah, nobody else mentioned the NX at all. So very, very interesting.
Yeah. Jet Dan, it's like the Nintendo NX, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild,
Wild.
and Just Dance 2017.
Yeah.
So next was Ghost. I wrote Reconned. Ghost Recon Wild
Ghost
Land.
retconned.
Yeah, Ghost Retcon. So more Tom Clancy stuff. So large open area, you go shoot stuff. It's good.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a gameplay demo that wasn't completely irritating. Although
that wasn't too bad, but
although I did write down, don't paste Twitter shit on the screen. If we cared, we'd read Twitter. Because they'd be doing the show and they'd bloop, and they just some random goober on Twitter and this is an awesome show. Smiley face. Stop it.
Yeah.
So
the
problem I see with Ghost Recon Wildlands is there's no ghosts in it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm of the opinion that Tom Clancy's name on a game just
does nothing.
I
played Rainbow Six back on the N64, and I thought it was cool, but I quickly grew tired of the games.
Yeah, see, I haven't read any of Tom Clancy's books. I've watched a couple of movies based on his books, but they're just nothing outstanding to me. And it's like these games with Tom Clancy's name on them. I don't think he even has any say in what the games actually are. It's just, here's my name, pay me money so you could put it on your game.
I've read a couple of his books and they're readable. I don't think they're great. They're fun, I guess, little adventure, political thriller adventures.
Like anytime I consider picking up one of his books, I look at the paperback and notice that it's 4 inches thick, and I'm like, yeah, I don't have the time for that.
Yep. All right, so next was South Park: The Fractured But Whole, which I do really like that name. Kind of an odd demo.
I did laugh during the character origin cutscene where Cartman was giving the player character his origin. I laughed at that whole exchange because that was actually pretty funny.
Yeah,
they showed aside, it was funny. The whole exchange was. But.
Yeah. If you like the show's humor, it looks fine. You can create a character. They had a Kanye reference that I totally didn't get.
I totally missed that, but yeah.
Well, I mean, he told a joke and was like, and everyone was quiet. It's a Kanye reference. Get it? And he's heard some people go, "Oh, okay." I'm like, nope. I don't know anything about Kanye. I don't even know who that is.
Tom Clancy's dead. Okay, so
Tom
they're just
Clancy's. When did Tom Clancy die?
I have no idea.
I didn't hear that. Huh.
But yeah, so they're just paying his family money now.
Noxus says, not a South Park fan, but I love comic books and superheroes, and the jokes in the South Park trailer got me. Yeah, I thought
Passed away 2013, October 1st.
Damn, he's been dead for a while. I wonder if I knew that and just completely forgot. So it showed a little combat, but not enough for me to really get a grasp of how the combat system really works, although apparently you can move around now and you couldn't in the first game. But I heard the first game was a fun RPG, so this is probably more of the same. If you like the humor, it comes out December 2016. It does have a lovely name, The Fractured But Whole.
Yeah,
and I did like the jab at DC films.
Yeah, that was good too.
It didn't even bother hiding that one; just straight up called out DC. I thought that was funny. For anyone who doesn't know. They were arguing about Marvel Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, and they're saying this is what we're going to do, and then in Phase 3 we're going to do this. And some of the kids go, "Well, we're going to do our own series of movies." And Cartman yells after him. He says, "Yeah, you won't even get through Phase 1, DC."
Well, DG, I think, is what they.
Oh, is that what he said? Okay, so all right, So I don't know my South Parks. All I know is the movie is pretty great. because my
Yeah,
sister and I
I don't know.
saw
I
it,
haven't.
and then we went home and grabbed mom and took her to see the movie. So, ooh, Scotty, nice one. Tom Clancy is now really is a ghostwriter. Um, Marvel films, you
Let's
mean?
see.
Maybe. Depends on exactly what I said. So, yeah, Marvel, DC.
Oh
So
man.
let's see.
Oh,
Next, more Division Underground expansion comes out this summer. There's going to be Ubisoft franchise costumes like Splinter Cell and stuff for Ubi's
yeah.
30th birthday, so you can run around the Division world in Sam Fisher's underwear. Um,
Yeah.
well,
But one of the things that
his
that I
stealth gear.
one of the things that I wrote down in this part was that the helicopter didn't explode after it crashed. So I'm
That's rare.
totally confused now. Who's lying to me? Is it video games
Yeah.
or movies? Because helicopters explode in movies. Uh,
Yep. So there's a survival mode expansion, but they didn't show any gameplay. Not like I really would have cared anyway.
yeah.
Saw a VR thing called Eagle Flight, which is capture. Then I spelled capture wrong. I don't know why I'm taking the time to actually correct it, but it doesn't matter. And it's
Yeah.
spelled
The
it wrong.
Eagle Flight
You
looked interesting, but it
capture the
was
flag with
capture the
birds.
flag, yeah, with birds.
Yeah.
In Paris, you get to fly through the Eiffel Tower. But yeah, it looks interesting. But again, it's a
So
VR thing,
what are the
so
projectiles that are the birds spitting at each other or kind of
I
flapping
don't
their
know.
wings in like little gusts of air? I'm not sure what the projectiles are supposed.
Oh, they're doing Angel from or Archangel from X-Men, where he throws the little razor feathers at people. Um, Falcon does the same thing from the Avengers, but yeah, I
They
don't know.
should
I
just be
don't know.
shooting lasers out of their eyes. They're eagles
Yeah,
that shoot lasers out of their eyes for no reason.
yeah, no
Or
reason at all.
or eagles with machine guns. They just have guns bolted to the underside of their wings.
Game designer comes up with the best game design ever, and he adds guns to it.
There you go. Needs more guns. And
Uh,
the birds should have boobs.
yeah, they need that. Yeah,
Yep.
boobs.
That
All right,
with
so
their own physics engines, they flap in the breeze. And then the male eagles should have big floppy dongs that have their own physics engine and flap in the breeze behind them. That would
oh,
be
that's awful.
now we've got a VR game. All right, so
Yep.
what's
And
next?
then
Okay,
Star
more
Trek.
VR. Star Trek VR,
Yeah,
which you play co-op on the Enterprise or some ship's bridge, and it looks like crap.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
See,
it visually looks like crap, but it's VR, so yeah.
yeah.
It
And
comes out
I'm
this
of the
fall. It could be
opinion.
fun. I don't know. They didn't really
I'm
show enough of it of the game to really get an idea
yeah,
of how it would play. But
yeah.
mm,
But I'm of the opinion that the only real Star Trek game is it will, or you can't have a real Star Trek game until we actually have a real life holodeck.
mm.
Sorry. Yeah.
Well, there's already a game, and I forget what it's called, but it's a multiplayer game where you play it online with other people, and one person is the captain, and another person somewhere on their own computer. I guess you could do this over LAN, but
Yeah.
is the systems engineer, and another person is the weapons person, and the captain has to call out stuff and coordinate with all the other people to run a starship and fight
Yeah.
space battles.
But again,
Um,
this suffers from the same problem as
so this is the
Sea of
same thing as
Thieves.
VR.
Yeah, well, this
Suffers from what?
suffers the same problem as Sea of Thieves, where somebody has to be the cabin boy, and nobody wants to
Yeah.
be the cabin boy. So,
Yeah.
yeah, somebody has to be the red shirt, and nobody
Th-
wants to be the red shirt.
Oh, Artemis Bridge Sim. Okay, is that what it's called? All right. Next, we have
Yeah.
For Honor, which is knights versus samurai versus Vikings, which sounds awesome, but it's
But
another game that's done so self-seriously it becomes really dull.
Yeah, I was watching that and I was like, okay, we've got a Viking invading a feudal Japan that's like opposite sides of the world, and they never interacted with each other. And
That's what makes it cool. I mean, I'm
I
down with
guess,
that. The
yeah.
actual gameplay looks like it might be fun in kind of a
Yeah, it
almost a
doesn't look too
weird way.
bad, but
But
well,
I mean,
it looks a lot like that Rome game that came out last
oh,
year.
Not Rome Total War, Rise.
Yeah, Rise. Yeah,
Yeah, an
yeah.
actual Xbox One exclusive
Yeah, it looked a
for
lot
a time.
like that to me.
Yeah,
Just the
I
way the
got a
game
little of
played.
that flavor.
Um,
I also wrote down "Stop cutting wide. Nobody cares." But anyway, For Honor will be out February 2017, and hopefully it's a little bit more fun than the way too self-serious cutscene makes it look out to be. Although there's an
yeah,
interesting story about some evil demon person who's for some reason making these three warring clans war for 1,000 years for no other reason than I don't know.
he
She's
can.
Loki, and that's just what she does.
Yeah,
um. So.
yeah. And the narration, I did not like the narration at
Eh,
all. Yeah, it was again. It was another one of those over expository. I must tell you everything you're going to do before you do it, and then remind you about what you just did after you did it.
hmm.
And I was, yeah, I didn't like that at all.
So moving into the eighth hour of the Ubisoft conference, that we got to a sequel to Grow Home called Grow Up, which
So that was a sequel
looks
to a game.
yeah. So Grow
I didn't
Home is a
like that.
game where you climb on a plant that grows up into the sky. In this
Huh.
game, you do the same thing, I guess. It comes out in August. I don't care. A lot of people
Yeah,
really liked a Grow Home.
I don't know.
Eh,
I didn't realize it was a sequel. But I wrote that
yeah.
the robot is really cute, but if he punches or shoots anything, I'm gonna scream. Uh,
Yeah, probably not. There wasn't any
yeah.
punching or shoot. It was just kind of a
Well, no, it was just
platformer kind of game.
it was more of a commentary on the rest of E3 up
Yeah.
to that point, where everything was fighting, shooting, punching, stabbing, everything. And then they show this, and I'm like, I hope he doesn't punch or shoot anything.
Yeah.
But
So a couple of
uh,
years ago, Ubisoft made Far Cry Blood Dragon, which was a 80s cheesy sci-fi infused version of Far Cry, which is pretty cool. So they
yeah,
decided to do the same thing with Trials, which is that motorcycle stunt game. It's called
yeah.
Trials of the Blood Dragon, and it's out right now. And the reviews I read said, well, the motorcycle stuff is good, but anytime you're not on a motorcycle, it's kind of crap, which is
Yeah,
unfortunate. It
that's
has a
what I
nice
read
look.
too.
I
It
like
has a nice look, and
yeah, I like the
I was,
aesthetic.
yeah, I was like, this looks like it might be fun, and I would try it. But then I read all the reviews, and I was like, yeah, I guess I'll skip it.
Yeah, and then they moved into showing
Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed movie, or a little behind the
Yeah,
scenes thing of Assassin's Creed, and I was like, I don't care. I
yeah,
was kind of glad that they skipped over Warcraft movie because not here for movies. I mean, I understand why they did it, but uh, although someone had a really funny quote said that this movie has a story with an arc that goes to the end.
nice.
That's the oddest thing I have ever heard. It has a story with an arc that goes to the end.
Say,
Aha.
don't story arcs usually go to the end? Because
Typically,
if they go beyond the end, then you don't get to see it. If it ends before, if it goes before
in the
the end,
last act of the
then the rest
movie,
of it's just
boring.
filler.
Yeah. The arc ends in Act Two, and we just spin our wheels for the rest of the running time to pad out to feature length. So, Assassin's Creed movie comes out. I
Yeah.
don't care.
And
I'm probably not gonna go unless reviews are like, oh my god, this movie's amazing. Probably not gonna go see it. One of the weird things I heard about this movie is they focus most of the time on um, the modern
modern
day
day
stuff
thing.
rather than the stuff in the game that everyone actually likes. Although I did
Yeah.
speak with someone on Twitter who said he really liked the modern day stuff. I said, Yeah, well, that's good. Um, all right. So, where are we? Oh, Watch
We are at
Dogs
Watch
2.
Dogs 2, and
Um,
this one. Yeah, so basically making the villain Facebook is from what it sounds like. The villain is Facebook, who has taken over politicians apparently,
yeah.
and I was just like, okay, that's a very interesting thing. They're playing up the whole Facebook post manipulation stuff that people have been complaining about, where it's like Facebook is censoring my conservative post, and yeah, but yeah, it was just kind of an interesting thing, and the gameplay. I'm still not sold on the whole Watch Dogs thing, but they did show plenty of
Looks
gameplay.
smoother than the first one.
Yeah,
Um, Although some of the building textures in the distance were really bad, and that stuck out to me. I also, as noted earlier, I hate heroes who listen to headphones while they're doing their thing. It's a stupid conceit.
yeah,
Um, the banter, the character banter was, I didn't like it, but it was nowhere near as bad as Gears 4.
yeah,
Um, I also thought it was interesting that the gameplay sequence they were showing off was non-lethal, and yeah, I
yeah,
mean, the people you were going after seemed to be politicians and um, just people who work in political campaigns. So it probably would feel odd to just bust in there and start mowing them down because our
yeah,
hero used a taser. But looking at the other trailers, it does seem that there are regular bullet shooty guns in the game. So, but it was interesting that that the way it was framed in the E3 presentation was completely
yeah.
destructive, sure, but
Stealth and
non-lethal,
yeah,
which was
stealth,
cool because
non-lethal, all
it's
that. Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, definitely.
Um,
And then
I
they
didn't
went
saw
in.
Warcraft yesterday. Don't know about the lore, but thought it was okay at best. Also points out that groups of moles are called laborers. So for the Molehill Mountain podcast, if we have our audience of 14 or 15 people could be laborers.
Yeah,
Okay, that works for me. Or the peoples that watch our show. And apparently there's going to be a Watch Dogs movie also. Now, do you think Watch Dog is going to be Aiden Pierce, the person in the first game, or this new kid?
I have no idea. Maybe they'll make up a new storyline. I don't know
Hmm.
because plenty of material to work with in that world and technology. So I'm sure they could come up with an original character if they wanted to, but they might just go with the first game's character just because that's the most well known.
Yeah, and I love how Ubisoft was trying to sell. Oh, we're selling Aiden's iconic hat. I'm like, iconic hat. It's a baseball cap. What the hell are you talking
Did it
about?
have a fancy logo on it? I don't know.
It,
I
it
don't
had a
remember.
unique logo on it, but I
Uh,
don't think anyone really cared.
uh,
So Steep is a new IP from Ubisoft, which
Steep
is
looks actually fun. I
well,
liked
it's
it.
SSX with snowboards, skis,
Yeah,
paragliding, and wingsuits.
yeah,
So just get up on a mountain and go skiing. And one thing that I thought was funny is there was one clip where the wingsuit guy crashed and screamed horribly with nice crunchy crashing sounds. I'm like, oh
yeah.
my god, because he just plows into it. Ah!
Yeah, see,
I think that's
I
just
like I like the SSX games,
hmm
and
been a while since we
I
had
think
it.
yeah, it's been a while, and I think
Probably 10 years.
Steep looks like it takes that and actually really improves the formula because SSX had yeah, a lot of problems because they basically made it a racing game and it really didn't fit. But
Mhm.
this looks like it's going to be more of an open world type extreme
Yeah,
winter sports
I wonder if, like,
game. So
at least some of the SSX games, there will be. I think there are. I think they showed it like specific events. I mean, you can tool around the
Yeah.
mountain and do whatever you want, but if you go to certain places, there will be a half pipe that you can do stuff in, or a race
Yeah.
that you start from here. Um, yawn. Okay. Have I heard people pronounce Ubisoft? I have.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Ubisoft though, because I think that it's supposed to be Ubi as in ubiquitous, but
Yeah.
so that was Ubisoft's show, and it was really, really long, and I got
Yeah.
really, really bored in the last hour.
Definitely. Yeah.
There was nothing really wrong with the show. Aisha Tyler was on point. She had, I
Yeah.
think last year or the year before, she had 1 year where just no one cared. Everything she said just kind of fell flat.
I
But
think it
this
was
year,
probably the second year she was on.
second or
But
third, yeah, this year
yeah.
she killed it though. She did
Yeah,
great.
she did really good this year.
And
I thought she
and
was.
she's in it. I wish more companies would hire a professional presenter to present rather than dragging the executives out there, because it rarely ever works.
Yeah.
The only ones who really get away with it are Nintendo when they do their Nintendo Directs, because they're dorky but in an adorable way usually.
Yeah,
Um,
and they're not out in front of an audience, and
yeah.
that's where a lot of the awkwardness comes from.
Hmm.
Is you get these people in front of an audience and they're not used to it.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
all right. But then I
Sony.
went in Sony. This is just a funny, not really funny, but kind of an interesting thing. IGN was posting all of the conferences on their website,
Hmm.
and that's where I watched. It's where I watched EA, Bethesda, and the last half of Ubisoft or Ubisoft's conference. But then I went to watch Sony's conference on the IGN page, and for some reason they posted all 12 hours of the Monday conference coverage under the Sony video.
Weird.
And so I had to actually skip
Scrub through.
10 hours of this to get to Sony, and that was really annoying. So maybe IGN fixed that by now, but I don't know.
I watched them all. Did I watch them all live? I think I did. I watched them all live on YouTube, and I watched them there because you can actually pause the live feed and pick up where you left off, unlike Twitch, which doesn't do that. Are we going to cover the PC gaming show? I didn't watch it. Did you?
I didn't watch it either, so,
No.
I guess not.
No. Sorry, it wasn't even announced. Really, I heard
Yeah,
that.
it
I
wasn't
heard
on
like on
IGN
Monday or Tuesday that there
schedule.
was one. I was like, was there? Because no one had it in their schedule.
Yeah, IGN didn't have it on their schedule, and so I was just like, oh, I guess not. I guess there's not one.
Yeah.
But I
So-
really did not like the PC gaming show last year. I thought it was a terrible format, or at least it wasn't a well executed format.
Yeah, I thought the format was interesting. It just took too long. I think that
Yeah.
I said this last year, but I think the problem was they had way too many guests. Like they didn't know who was going to show up, so they invited everybody, and then everybody showed up.
Yeah.
Like, oh. So I would have been interested in watching the show this year just to compare it to last year's, and maybe I'll try and find it because
Yeah, Scotty
as
says he
Scotty
doesn't
points
think
out, no one
anybody
even
knew.
covered it. Yeah, I know. I
I'm
heard
sure
that it
Rock
had
Paper
happened.
Shotgun covered it because that's their
Well, their beat, yeah.
their beat. So yeah. Okay,
All right,
but
so
get back to Sony.
Sony, I say Sony had the best conference of the show.
Yes, they had a really
Um,
good one. That orchestral number at the beginning was awesome.
I have a
leading into
criticism
God of
there,
War,
but
but-
I'll get to that in a moment.
Hey,
Uh,
I'm not a music buff, and so I'm just going off a layman's thing. I thought it was really good. So,
Overall, the conference was great, mainly because it wasn't 2 hours long like Sony's usually are. It was only an hour and 15 minutes. But Sony shut the hell up and just showed games. There was like a 15-minute segment of the show that was just nothing but game footage. No one even bothered to come out on stage and introduce it. They realized, you know what, it's kind of pointless for someone to walk on stage and, hi, I'm this person that you don't know and don't care about, and here's a game you're going to look at. Bye. Who cares? They just showed games. It was great.
Yeah.
Maybe not every game was great. Maybe they didn't show enough gameplay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's start the sucker from the beginning.
Yeah.
They started it off with a full orchestral performance of who the hell knows, but it was a orchestral piece, and it had chanting in it, and the chanting was male and it was bass, so I liked it because you don't hear male bass voices featured very often.
Yeah.
And I was like, and they're bop, bop, bop. It's some other language. It probably means
well, it was
like ham or something. But
it was leading into God of War, and
it led into God of War.
Yeah.
But someone in the chat tell me, is this bop, bop, bop? Is that the theme song from any of the other God of War games, or what is this a new composition for the new God of War? Because if it's a new composition, then no one knows what it's. I mean, it was good, except for the chanting, which I'll get to in a second. It was good, but it was like 5 damn minutes long. And after a while, I'm like, okay, this is cool, but what is this? What's it from? Is this a tune anyone recognizes? If this is actually the God of War theme, well, fine. It's still too long. It really should have been only 2 minutes. 5 is too long, especially because, and here's the criticism, the bass chanting was boring because it was repetitive. It just bop, 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 bop. That's it. Repeated over and over. Bop, bop, bop. And then occasionally they'd add a grace note. Bop, 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 bop. And then the bop. And, you know, they'd hold out the note. Then bop, bop, bop. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, the basic melody, the dum bum 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 bum, that's fine because you can build on that and you can do different passages and movements, and the actual instrumental score did, and it played with those 3 notes and did all kinds of interesting things with them. But the singers did not. They just bop bop bop. Except some woman they had there who was a part like beatboxing a bit.
A little bit, yeah.
She's doing that. It's like, well, I don't like that, but it's interesting. But then she started singing in a soprano voice, which was very lovely. I thought that worked very well. Man. But anyway, so after 5 damn minutes of this song, they start talking. I'm like, okay, I guess it was just music. And then they introduced what ended up being. What did I write here? I wrote, no, just show the game. We don't need 3 angles on the screen and another on the guy playing the game and the audience. Yeah, so for the God of War footage, they had a box in the center that was the game. Then they had another box up here that was like the audience, and one here that was just on a weird off angle, and another of the guy playing the game. Stop it! Just show the game. I don't care. Nobody cares. Anyway, so the trailer starts out, and it turns Kratos steps into frame, and oh my God, it's Kratos with a beard. And I'm not totally familiar with God of War, so I thought that this was God of War prequel. I thought this kid was like the kid he used to have before he killed his kid and his wife. Apparently, this is future Kratos after all of the other games, and he married again and had another kid. Not sure who the hell would marry him, but yeah.
I don't know. From the banter between Kratos and the kid, it sounded like Kratos married into the family.
Might not be his kid, yeah.
Yeah, it might not be his kid.
That's true.
But yeah, but the game is based in North mythology, so it looks like he moved from Greece to the Netherlands, and that's where he's living now. So, but yeah, I'm not a big God of War fan, but this game is actually does look interesting to me. I think the change of pay or the change of location and monsters and bosses and stuff is going to be a little more interesting this time around, because I'm not a big Greek mythology fan. I think I like some of their stories.
This is
I like
Norse,
learning it, but yeah, Norse is more interesting to me. Maybe because I like Marvel's Thor character, but yeah. So
maybe
God
he'll
of
rip
War.
off Thor's head in this game.
Well, I'm sure he will. That's the whole point of playing God of War, is to kill all the gods.
Come over here, boy. I'll rip off his head and you gouge out his eyeballs.
Well, but here's the question: do you think Kratos will be able to pick up Thor's hammer?
Good question. So, is that a Marvel? Is the heavy hammer thing a Marvel thing, or is that actually Norse
no, that's
mythology?
actual mythology. Yeah, only Thor can wield the hammer.
So Noxus says that the ba 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 tune is new, and he used to have a daughter. So his wife and kid from that he murdered was wife and daughter. Okay, so yeah, but he's rocking the beard. So this game, at least the first chapter, looks like you don't actually do much except follow your son around. It looks really boring from a gameplay perspective. On the other hand, that may just be the opening first chapter meant to get you to understand the characters. And I'm certainly patient enough to play through a game that doesn't do much for the first chapter, just to really introduce you with to the characters. Knox also says that the kid apparently is his biological son. So okay, but yeah, you just kind of follow your kid around until your kid provokes some monsters.
Is the kid a demigod?
Sure. Lara Croft uses Thor's hammer in Tomb Raider Underworld. Does she? I played that game and I don't remember that. So it's pretty, and maybe it'll be good. I don't know.
We'll see.
I mean, it's really difficult to get a sense of how much. Of course, the first games are very just keep hammering on X, so it was hard to get a real feel for how much of what we were looking at was scripted and how much of it was actually organic gameplay. God of War, Kratos Babysitter Edition, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Child Abuse Edition. Is he going to lose it and just smack that kid about half a block? Yeah. So maybe Kratos should do what I do and not talk at the bottom of our range all the time. Try lifting the voice a little bit. Hey son, would you like to go hunt a deer? Instead of find that deer. It's like, oh, okay, dude, come on.
Yeah.
You have not proven yourself. Whatever. Okay, so God of War. Next was Days Gone, which they showed a trailer, which
I don't even remember that game.
No gameplay, just some biker guy in bad times. They don't even specify. He's like, I remember everything about the way things used to be, but most of all, I remember you and the smell of your hair. I'm like, she's dead, I guess. What happened is like, but now I'm a bounty hunter, and now I do things. It's like, some people lost their minds. Some people lost more than that. All right, whatever. So I'm like,
I don't even remember that. Yeah.
What happened? Is it zombies? Is it disease? It's zombies, isn't it? Yeah, it's zombies. At the very end of the show.
Okay, Days Gone. Yeah, now
it's the one with the swarm of World War Z movie zombies that just flood in after you, and you just have to lead them into choke points.
Yeah, that game looked terrible. I was watching that and I'm like, okay, there's absolutely no way he's going to survive this because there's 2,000 zombies and just one of him, and I don't think he has 2,000 rounds of ammo. So even if he did get one shot per zombie, I don't think he would survive.
Yeah.
But
River says got
yeah.
work in the morning, so is taking off. Good night, and we will be talking about Zelda and Nintendo stuff later after Sony. So,
Yeah.
let's see, 2.5 hours so far, not so bad. All right,
Uh,
so
uh,
they did show gameplay at the end of the show, which was weird.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, it's zombies, and it could be neat. Looks a little dull. I mean, visually, it looks a little brown. You know what really bothered me the most, other than them doing that stupid multi-camera thing again, was he's scavenging stuff, right? So he
Yeah.
finds a broken down truck and he pops the hood and he grabs some cylindrical piece of the engine and he's like, I can use this. And he just pops it onto the end of his gun as a silencer. I'm like, now I don't know trucks, but I would be very surprised.
That would be the oil filter.
I would be very surprised if you could oil filters are built so that you can just snap them right onto the end of a handgun as a silencer.
No, probably
Maybe you
not.
could use it as a silencer, but he's like, hey,
Some
you know,
duct tape.
click. And he doesn't like tape it on. He just like snaps it into place. And like that, I can buy a flood of
That's a
zombies, but
video.
that's really unrealistic.
That's a video game mechanic there.
Yeah. So, let's see. Oh, I wrote down the enemy is Gollum because the first enemy we saw was a little half-naked, bald creature jumping around. I'm like, okay, the enemy is Gollum, and so it's a zombie swarm, and that it could be, if done right, that could be very tense and very cool.
Yeah.
So,
let's see. I've got The Last Guardian next.
Yep, Last Guardian finally coming out in October. They didn't really show much gameplay, but we've been seeing this game for 6-7 years, so who cares? Yeah. And I wrote down, stop cutting away from the footage, assholes.
Yeah, I only mentioned that a few times on my Twitter stream, but yeah, I probably could have filled my Twitter stream with every time they cut away from the footage. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, E3 is here. Let's see the new games. No, I think we're going to be real interested in the crowd's reaction. No one cares. What? Anyway, so Last Guardian, I'm sure it'll be fine. At least I hope it'll be fine.
Hopefully, he has 7 years of development. It better be good.
Can you imagine a game taking over half a decade of development and then coming out and then sucking? I mean, what would you even call that? Duke Nukem Forever? So.
Yeah.
Yes, my YouTube subscriber count is over 9,000. I actually noticed that the other day, which was weird because I had checked it a while before, not too long before. It was at like 8,900 and something. And so it's like, I wonder if it cracked 9,000. I looked, it's like 91 something. I'm like, but when did that happen?
Yeah.
But anyway, next hiccup, Horizon Zero Dawn. Still digging it. Although the voice acting was really, really terrible. Not so much her, whatever her name is, but the characters that like the guy in the tower, his delivery was so wrong.
Yeah.
So wrong. But whatever.
Horizon Zero Dawn, I think it looks great. But yeah,
she has a hell of a slide. She has this thing where she like slides into cover on her butt. She's like running and then she just kind of slides into third base, but she slides like 40 feet. I'm like, wow, that was a hell of a slide she's got there. Probably tear all the fabric of her pants right off doing that.
Yeah.
But one thing I noted was something that I had noticed in a lot of these demos, and especially Horizon Zero Dawn, is it appears that the game characters in these demos are talking to themselves a lot, and it sounds like a lot of that was added for the E3 demo because this woman is like, she's like, I'm going to use my binoculars so that I can see what that crab monster is holding. And then she says, okay, she goes into the menu and she says, okay, I'm going to make some proximity bombs. I'm pretty sure she won't actually say that in the
I hope
actual
not.
game.
Yeah.
I think that was just added because no one was narrating the footage and they didn't want anyone to have to try and figure out brand new menus on the fly to figure out what the hell she was doing. So she just offhandedly remarks, gonna make myself some proximity bombs.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea. I think that actually works as long as you don't make the character too chatty and annoying.
Yeah.
It's just instead of someone actually narrating the footage, the character in the game is kind of narrating herself, which
Yeah.
I think can work. I saw a
Yeah.
bunch of different game demos which seem to be doing the same thing. So
Yeah. But yeah, and I noted I mentioned this last year when they showed it the first time, but I still hope that they do not delve into the origin of these robot dinosaurs, because I think, to me, that would spoil the entire world for me.
prepare to be
Because
disappointed. They are totally going to do that.
I know they will, but it's
It's not
just.
going to be just robot dinosaurs because there's going to be a big damn reason.
Yeah,
Um,
and you're going to like save the world, and all the robot dinosaurs are going to shut down, and it's just going to be like, no, come on, just make it a world element and leave it at that.
yeah. So Noxa points out that in the floor demo for Horizon Zero Dawn, there was no voiceover from the character, so it was almost certainly just
Okay, it was E3 stuff. Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
and that's fine because it felt organic. I mean, it's like, wow, she's a little chatty, but she was saying stuff that if she didn't say it, you wouldn't know exactly what was going on unless someone was actually narrating, some speaker on the
Yeah,
stage was narrating the footage. So yeah, I'm excited for Horizon Zero Dawn. It looks really fun,
yeah,
and it's got some crafting. So you take down dinosaurs and you use their parts to make better weapons. So it's very Monster Hunter esque in that way. And also, I think Kotaku pointed out something that this game has in that if you're missing a piece of crafting item, you can basically put up a want ad that says, I need this crafting item. So a non-player character will say, okay, well, I have this crafting item and I'll give it to you if you complete this quest of mine. So if you're missing a crafting
huh,
item, you can generate a quest that you can go on to get that item. So that's kind of neat.
that's cool. Yeah, that's a neat mechanic. It saves a lot of time, so you're not having to figure out which of these robot animals has the item you need, and then going and tracking them down and all that stuff. So yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. So moving on, we have Detroit Become Human, and I'm really getting tired of these stupid game titles. If you're
Yeah,
using a colon in your game title, you're probably doing it wrong. Horizon Zero Dawn. What does that even mean?
yeah,
Detroit Become Human. Well, it takes place in Detroit and it's about androids, so they become okay, kind of. But what was this like? Beyond Two Souls.
yeah,
Stop it. Anyway, so they showed gameplay, maybe kind of, but
yeah.
it's such a cinematic game that you probably wouldn't really recognize it
Yeah, I was
anyway.
my big question with this one was, is it just going to be a big series of quick time events?
Yeah, well, it looks like it has the Heavy Rain's investigation mode and
Yeah,
Art of Fahrenheit's in that you have to look around at stuff and examine it and figure out what happens so that when you go into the cutscene where you talk to people, like the guy holding the hostage, You actually have if you could just go straight to the hostage encounter and just bluff your way through it, or you can spend the extra time looking around and figuring out what happened while trying not to take too long, because otherwise the bad guy's going to shoot the hostage or jump off the roof,
Yeah.
in order to arm yourself with knowledge to more successfully negotiate the hostage situation. So that could be really cool. Maybe your choices will actually matter in this one, because what was interesting is they showed that um that scene could end in several different ways.
Yeah.
It could end with both the robot and the little girl plummeting off the roof. It could end up with both the robot and the robot negotiator plummeting off the roof. It could end up with the negotiator robot being shot. It could end up with the little girl saved and the robot negotiator alive and the other one taken into custody, or the other one dead. And it's like, wow, those are actually really different endings. Unlike in almost every instance of Heavy Rain, for example, where there are choices you can make. For example, you're in a convenience store and a guy comes in and robs the place, and there are a lot of different things you can do. You can just wait it out, hide in the aisles. You can talk the guy down and succeed, or talk the guy down and fail, or rush him and succeed, or rush him and fail. There's a bunch of different things you can do, but none of it matters because the scene ends exactly the same way no matter what you do. You talk to the guy, he gives you the thing you need, and you move on. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Um, so hopefully the choices you make in this game will actually matter, which only bothers me when the game is sold as a game where your choices actually matter, which is what frustrated people about Mass Effect 3, because the games were all sold on the fact that all the choices you make uh, matter. Got to the end of Mass Effect 3? No, they don't. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you did. Door 1, 2, or 3, or door red, green, or blue. You get a slightly different tinted cutscene. Doesn't matter. Same problem I have with a lot of Telltale's games. Uh, what you choose to doesn't matter. You say whatever you want. Doesn't matter. You're going to the same place. Now that's fine because it's a game and it has a story to tell,
Yeah.
and some of the details change. But the problem is they keep selling it on your choices. Not really. I mean, they do in some cases, but overall, there's another scene in Heavy Rain where you're in an apartment with someone and some guy comes in and you get into a fight. Go ahead and put the controller down. Doesn't matter. You can lose the fight, you can win the fight. Does not matter. Same thing happens. There's this scene where you get into like you're driving the wrong way down a freeway. You can do all the QuickTime events if you want, or don't. Doesn't matter. You end up in the same place. Does not matter. So I like the world of Detroit Become Human. I like future sci-fi. I like Blade Runner. I like the idea of robots and AI and consciousness and sentient technology and examining ethics revolving around AI. That stuff's fascinating, and I definitely have my fingers crossed for this particular game. I hope it's great.
It could be. Yeah.
So,
all right.
Next up is Resident Evil 7, which comes out in January. So that surprised me because of the way they presented it. I was like, oh, so because a lot of people compared their presentation was very PT-ish, the playable teaser for Silent Hills that Konami unceremoniously canceled, and then ripped the teaser off of PlayStation 4. So there's a spooky house, and you're in the spooky house, and the house is spooky. It's Resident Evil 7. And this you can play this demo on the PlayStation 4 if you're PlayStation Gold. No, I'm sorry, PlayStation Plus. Right now. Cool. This isn't actually the game. It's just kind of it gives you the right tone for what to expect. It's like, oh, okay. So you're with PT, they had never started work on Silent Hills. They never maybe some design documents and stuff, but they never really started work. They put together the teaser and they just started working on it. So I was thinking, oh, so this is kind of the same thing. This is the mood and tone and what you want to communicate for what you're going to be doing with Resident Evil 7. No, they're pretty much done with the game at this point if it's coming out in January. I mean, it could be delayed, but
Yeah.
don't know exactly how the game is going to play or what it's
No,
going to be
they didn't
like.
show much at all. Yeah.
But it's Resident Evil, so I'm willing to cut it some slack in that area.
Yeah.
I'm a Resident Evil fan, so I'm all we know really is they seem to be going a new direction with it. And the last time
Yeah.
they did that, we got Resident Evil 4, which is one of my favorite games of all time. So high hopes. High hopes.
But with Resident Evil 7, I want to give them props for having the most clever use of a number in the movie,
Number in
in
the
the
title,
title,
yeah.
that I've ever seen. They showed it, and they had the Roman numerals 7, and then they filled in Resident Evil around it. And so the second I in 7 had a little tail at the end of it to make the L, which looked really cool. And I saw screenshots where in other regions where they focus more on the biohazard subtitle,
Mm-hmm.
and they put a 7 on the Z with a little for the Z, but with a little white tail there, and so it looks really good either way. But yeah, it's like this is not a Fant 4 stick. Yeah, this is actually really clever. So
yeah, I agree. Best number in a title thing I've seen. Noxus says I'm a big Resident Evil fan. I want to be excited for 7, but I'm struggling to get excited. It looks pretty much like every other indie horror game around now. That's true. It does, but I'm interested. And if this was the game, I'd be like, okay. But we'll see what they do with it. Resident Evil 4 revolutionized the action genre, but 7 looks like every other indie horror game. Yeah, wander around a spooky house where nothing happens.
yeah.
Except occasionally there's like a ghost in the window that most people don't even seem to notice. Some guy walks by a door. I mean, if that's, I think that's, I get the sense that this cabin thing is more setting the tone and style than the actual gameplay. I mean, from what I understand, the gameplay will be in first person. It will have fewer enemies. So probably what it sounded like they were trying to do with Evil Within, and then didn't at all. But yeah, it's hard to get a feel for exactly what Resident Evil 7 will be. A lot of the goodwill I have towards it is based on its name alone. If it was cabin horror game, I'd be like, all right, show me what it is. But it's Resident Evil 7, so I'm like, okay, show me what it is. All right, Resident Evil 7. Oh, and it uses VR, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and then
so they talked about
stuff.
PlayStation VR comes out October 13th for $399, and there should be 50 games by the end of the year, including Farpoint, which you explore a foreign planet with drones and big monsters, and you shoot them.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. All right. Star Wars Battlefront will have a VR mission where you fly an X-wing around and shoot stuff. Cockpit stuff seems to be what VR was made for, because you are still sitting. Essentially, any game where you're playing a person who's sitting is a pretty good VR game, or lends itself to VR pretty well. There's a Batman Arkham VR game. They didn't show any gameplay, so I have no idea how it works.
Yeah. And there's Final Fantasy 15's gonna add VR stuff to it,
which looks stupid, but okay.
Yeah, and the stupid trailer they had where the guy is wearing the VR headset while fighting the monsters,
and keeps turning to the camera and giving a thumbs up, and I just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare comes out in November, and I have to admit I didn't realize I was watching a Call of Duty trailer for the first minute or two of the trailer. I was like, "Oh,
Oh yeah, I didn't realize either.
is this the
And
Infinite Warfare? Oh, it is. This
yeah, I was just
actually
like,
looks kind
yay,
of neat."
generic space shooter, and then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, Call of Duty game? What? Yeah, totally not at all interesting.
Oh, you have a grappling hook in space, and you rip people's masks off, and you explode the bridge windows, and the people all get blown out into space. Which one guy's hanging on the lip. I'm like, there's no way you'd be hanging on there, dude. I thought it was the most interested I've been in Call of Duty in forever.
So
Probably
MG
not a game
Noxa says that the Batman VR game is just you dressed as Batman walking around the Bat Cave trying to solve a crime on the Bat computer.
Yeah, I heard it was something like that, and you can't actually walk around. You just kind of look to a new location and squint real hard, and you just warp over there. Someone was saying it's great because you are Batman and you feel like Batman until you just warp somewhere, until you're required to move and you just warp somewhere. It's weird. I thought maybe it was just like you put the goggles on like you're putting on the cowl, and Mark Hamill just taunts you for an hour. Sure, I'll just that could just be an audio book though. I could just put on a sleep mask and put on headphones and listen to Mark Hamill berate me as the Joker for an hour.
Yeah.
They also Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. They didn't show any gameplay, but whatever, it's an old game.
Yeah.
Which it comes free with Infinite Warfare, or if you're some people, Infinite Warfare comes free with Modern Warfare Remastered.
Yeah.
So speaking of remasters, we're also getting Crash Bandicoot
Crash
1,
Bandicoot.
Crash Bandicoot 2, and Crash Bandicoot Warped remastered. They showed no gameplay or no footage.
Yeah.
But hopefully he's not based on the Skylander Imaginators Crash model.
Yeah, that model is ugly.
Crash
Yeah.
guest stars in Skylanders Imaginators. And apparently he's in the other platform. He's in all versions of the game, not just Sony's, which was really surprising. And I don't know if that information is wrong, but that's if it's
what
true,
it sounds
that's
like,
really weird. Yeah. And the character model, it's ugly anyway, but it doesn't really fit the Skylander style. He seems totally out of place.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, but I hope that when they bring back this game, they bring back those classic Crash commercials where the guy in the Crash suit goes around to different places with the bullhorn and it's just obnoxious to everybody. Those are great commercials. Yeah.
Well, that suit actually looks better. Yeah, he does. You're right. The Scotty in our chat says that he looks like someone in a Crash Bandicoot suit. The Skylanders Imaginators Crash does kind of look like one of the Skylanders wearing a really bad Crash mascot suit. It's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's Lego Force Awakens that comes out this month. There's a demo now, and then they introduced Hideo Kojima. as one of the most creative talents in the history of gaming.
I know they just they're just went all out.
They're just filleting this guy like no one else. I mean, hey,
Konami
I
wasn't
Metal Gear Solid, but jeez.
Just Konami doesn't care about him. Konami thinks he's crap, so somebody's got to make him feel good.
Somebody appreciates Mr. Kojima. So then they launched another trailer which had more dead crabs in it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, here's the thing.
And Norman Reedus.
And Norman Reedus. So
and a baby.
So nice to see that this won't be Silent Hills, of course, and it's sad that this is not also in collaboration with Guillermo del Toro, but at least Norman Reedus still stuck around. Unfortunately, we have no idea what the hell the game is.
No idea whatsoever.
Unless it's Pretension the game.
Yeah, this was just Oh,
stupid.
it was. I had absolutely no idea what was going on. Norman Reedus wakes up on this beach, looks like a tar covered beach,
Hmm.
and he's just all crying. And there's a baby in front, a naked baby, still has the umbilical cord attached,
To him, it
and
looks like.
yeah, and he picks it up and he's trying to comfort it and he's crying, and then the baby just all of a sudden disappears, and you see these little tar handprints going away or going down his leg, and it's like, what is this?
And then he stands up and he has a cross-shaped scar on his abdomen, like he's had it. Jesus, like he had a cesarean section. I don't know if that picked up on the mic, but one of my neighbors probably just dropped pots and pans or something. Um, and then he gets all serious looking and looks out at the ocean. There's these little things just kind of floating out there, and the beach is covered in dead fish and whales and crabs. Lots of dead, lots of dead marine life. And it's called a dead stranding, not standing, stranding.
Yep, no idea.
I, I essentially it's a Kojima's making a game. I assumed he was.
Yeah,
This
this is the
tells me
equivalent of
nothing.
an art house flick.
Yeah, I have absolutely no interest because they've shown me I have no idea what the game is. I
Yeah,
can speculate that maybe there's some type of environmental theme going on. I don't know.
yeah.
But I agree with Noxa that Norman Reedus needs to be naked for every single second of that game. No strategic butt coverings here. We need Reedus's bare ass through the entire game. Noxa says, I think a few months ago, Kojima said it will be an action game, but now he's saying it's not action or RPG. It's a new game. I don't think he
A
knows.
new genre. Yeah, he doesn't know what it is. It's just it's a thing.
Oh, a stranding. Oh, stranding as in what happens to whales when they beach themselves. Okay.
Okay.
That,
So
so
Norman Reedus is the equivalent of the whale in this.
I've never heard that prefixed with death, though, death stranding, because well, I guess if you can push the whale back into the water, that never works, though. Beached whales get dead. Um, okay, sure. Whatever. When you decide to show me what the game is, hey, you know where to find me. So let's see, where are we now?
Let's see.
Spider-Man. No
Spider-Man.
gameplay.
Yes. No gameplay.
But
Barely a trailer.
yep, Insomniac is making a Spider-Man game with the most obnoxious Spidey suit I have seen yet.
Yeah.
Actually,
This
the
is,
suit is fine, except it has this glaring white spider logo on the front, possibly the back too, and it is distracting as hell
yeah.
to me.
But we're in a generation where we could actually make a seriously good Spider-Man game, a
Yeah,
really open world one
sure.
where you can actually explore everything. They came pretty close in previous Spider-Man games, but I think this one they could actually make a seriously good one, and we'll just have to see how it
Yeah,
goes.
I look for, and Insomniac's a great developer. I look forward to actually
Yeah,
seeing footage from the game. So
yeah,
not CG rendered trailer, and it was fun to watch. Although I really don't like that giant white spider logo on the suit. It just does not work. It's distracting as hell. Do not like.
yeah,
I'll get over it though if the game's good. Um, and then they had a closing montage of saw Attack on Titan, some racing game, Ukulele, Yakuza Zero, which actually comes out next year, which is,
yeah,
I think, maybe the shortest amount of time between Japanese and North American release, because Yakuza Zero came out earlier this year, or no, I think it came out in 2015, so maybe I don't know, but at least it's 2 years at best. At least it's not 3 years this time.
yeah.
So and then they showed the Dead Days, Days Gone, Gone Days, whatever
Yeah,
the zombie
gameplay
thing.
footage. Yeah,
So yeah.
and yeah, totally not at all sold on that game. Sorry.
Um, I, if they did it right, it could be good. Um,
Uh,
being chased by this unstoppable swarm, this almost force of nature. It's almost like being chased by a flood of water. There's not a whole hell of a lot you can do except keep moving and try and uh, put some type of barrier between you and it. That could be really tense. Like you're sneaking around the environment going, oh crap, I hope, because if one sees me, they're going to attract the whole horde and then I'm going to have to. It could be really tense or it just could be really boring.
yeah,
It's certainly very brown. And
very. Yeah,
yeah, it's like, guys,
yeah.
Noxa says if most of Gone Days is riding a motorbike, then I will definitely buy it. Oh, did you get, what was that redemption game? Uh, Not Red Dead Redemption. There's a Ride of Redemption, or I forget what it's called, but it's this hilariously bad biker game that came out like 2 years ago. I forget what
Huh.
it's called, but I think the funniest thing is the sex scenes in the game,
I
which
think the only biker game I ever enjoyed was Full Throttle from
oh yeah, I'm still waiting
Ubisoft.
for that game to be good old games. As soon as you put it on there, I'll buy it.
Yep.
Ride to Hell Retribution. Thank you, Noxa. Yes, that's what it is. I can't really recommend it, but maybe if you find a great YouTube personality who is willing to subject him or herself to a let's play, it might be a fun watch. Because oh my god, that game is almost worth it just because it's fascinatingly incompetent. Uh, check 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 out a let's play if you can. Um, Jet Dan says 12 a.m. where I'm at, 48 hours or more, and still awake and kicking. Come on, Andrew, let's get a drink and keep this going. I'm actually out of drink, but we're almost
Yeah.
done. We've been three
Yeah,
hours,
we're on
and
to
we're
Nintendo
on to
now.
Nintendo, and Nintendo didn't do much. So,
No, they
Nintendo.
didn't. And I watched like I can't really say I watched it, but I had it muted up in the corner, and I was watching Stargate SG-1 down below it. And whenever they would actually go into something that looked interesting, I'd pause SG-1 and then go back and watch
Mm.
the stuff. But yeah, I gave up after about 5 hours. I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to stick around with this much.
I
Uh,
I watched every single second of Treehouse Live. No, I take
nice.
that back. I did skip over Yokai Watch because I don't care. And I skipped through some of Pokemon because I don't care.
Yeah. See,
But
I went back
younger,
and I
great.
watched all the game trailers,
Yeah, no
but
disrespect to the
yeah,
Pokemon and Yokai Watch franchises. They're just not for me, and I don't care.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I went back and I watched all the game trailers for every game they had on there, but I just wasn't up to watching 24 hours of their live treehouse
oh,
thing.
it was only like 5.5 hours.
I don't know, whatever it was. I just didn't care. But yeah, I did watch a good bunch of the Zelda
Mm-hmm.
gameplay footage.
Breath of the Wild.
Very interesting subtitle.
Does not roll off the tongue. I am still having trouble remembering what it is. I keep
Yeah,
wanting to say Breath of the Wind for some reason. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I do. Let me see. Hang on. Where was my? Let me look at my notes here. What's her name? Chico. Chico destroys all. She was hilarious. She was one of the Treehouse Live people
Yeah,
playing the game. She was hilarious. To me, she 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 loved murdering everything she came across. She would get side. No, I have to go kill these. She wasn't really great at close-up fighting, but she loved throwing bombs and rolling boulders at the bad guys, or
Yeah.
lighting them on fire, or using her arrows. And she would. Nothing survives when Chico comes through. She's. Oh, we're gonna climb up the mountain and show off the colder areas. Up. Wait. We've got bokoblins over there. I have to go kill them all. She made my day. I thought she was hilarious. But
Yeah, they had some some fun people playing the games and stuff. But
yeah,
yeah,
so Zelda looks cool.
yeah,
Looks like it's gonna be great. Um, I did notice that we were talking about censorship of or localization choices made for Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and one of them
mhm,
was erasing Tsubasa's vagina bones, which are the drawn lines on her lower abdomen that visually indicate a separation between her lower abdominals and her hips and pelvic region. It's it's just you draw lines here to visually indicate the separation between the two. And for the American and I'm assuming the European and Australian versions, those vagina bones, which I only use that term because it's so damn funny. Her vagina bones have been erased. They've been erased because I guess they're too saucy. But no, it's not because they're too saucy. Because they were taken from Tsubasa and they were put on Link. Link has vagina bones. We know this because he is shirtless and he wakes up in just a pair of shorts. And I went, vagina bones. He has them. Oh,
yeah,
vagina bones are okay for Link, but not for Tsubasa. Hmm. Sexist.
yeah. Of
So
course.
yeah. So yeah. Game looks really cool.
Yeah, I like the cooking mechanic.
Yeah, that is
They
funny.
they showed quite a bit of that, and it looks like there's not going to be any. You can't make a mistake. Like you can't just throw stuff in and not get anything back.
No,
It's
you.
just
Oh, yeah. True. But you will if you throw in ingredients that don't actually make a dish, you will get unidentified food or suspicious substance or something like that. And it's this
yeah,
plate of green slop that they put a visual mosaic over, like it's just too horrible to look at. And it says, "Don't know what it is. Probably won't kill you. Probably." Uh,
yeah,
but it's interesting. Defeating enemies does not drop hearts. Cutting grass does not give you rupees. Instead,
yeah,
to regain your hearts, you have to, at least from what we know so far, to pardon me, to gain hearts, you have to pick mushrooms and hunt wild boar, and then which when you hunt a wild boar and shoot it in the head with an arrow, just kind of explodes into a side of beef.
yeah,
It just explodes into a steak, which is pretty awesome. You
yeah,
shoot a pigeon and it just turns into a drumstick. So you put these ingredients, the side of steak and the mushrooms, and you put them in a pot and cook them up. And Link hums, cooking, uh, pretty great. And it makes
yeah,
a shish kebab or a meat skewer and some other dishes. And
yeah.
some dishes refill your health. Some give you more hearts temporarily.
Some
Some
give you fill your stamina and
some will refill stamina, make you faster, give you cold resistance, all kinds of neat stuff. Matthew says Zelda is now a survival game. Kind of. As far as I've seen, there's no hunger mechanic. You don't have to keep eating or drinking because there's no hunger or hydration meter. You only
yeah,
eat to replenish your heart, so don't get hit and
yeah,
you won't ever have to eat. Um,
yeah.
do I feel like staying up and doing a commentary on Forrest Gump? No, because I don't like the movie. Um, I don't own it either. Uh,
Yeah.
let's see what else. The thing that struck me about Wild World, or whatever it's called, Breath of the Wild, is like Xenoblade Chronicles X. its ambition exceeds the capability of the hardware. Um, Not that
Oh,
it's unplayable, but for example, a lot of times the Treehouse kids would put Link somewhere on top of a cliffside or top of a cathedral roof and just spin the camera around to take on the majesty of the land of Hyrule. And it, in those really large open visas, it chugged a bit. I don't know if that was the stream or if the game was just getting a little framey because it was um, trying to draw too much. Matthew says you can freeze to death. There is a cold system. You can freeze to death, but put on clothes. I mean, really, it's only. I mean, it's the same thing as like before you put on the Varia suit in Metroid before you go into the lava area. Same thing in
yeah,
Zelda. Just put on a winter coat before you go up into the mountains. It's not like it gets cold at night and you need to light a fire or anything. But you can carry a torch with you, or you can use the right cooking ingredients to give you temporary um, uh,
cold
resistance against the
resistance.
cold,
Yeah,
or you can just wear a sweater. So I mean, there are some issues, some survival elements, but I wouldn't really call it a survival game,
yeah.
at least not from what I've seen so far.
Yeah,
Um,
I did see a GIF of if Link is not wearing shoes and he tries to kick open a treasure chest, he actually hurts his foot, which was kind of
well,
neat.
that's interesting because the shoes, it's as far as I've seen, it's just shirt and pants. I don't think they're separate shoes, but the shoes do come with the pants. That
Yeah,
is pretty cool. So
yeah, because
I
it
didn't see
showed
that.
it. He kicked the chest, and it opened up, but
Mhm.
you see him like bounce on his other foot, and while holding the one that he kicked with.
I did
But,
see that he has different animations to open the chest depending on where you're standing, like if you're in the front or if you're in the back. If he's in the front, he kind of lifts up the lid. If he's in the back, he just gives it kind of a kick, which is nice. If you happen to be on the wrong side of the chest, you can still open it. You don't have to walk around
yeah,
to the other side. That's fine. Um, although I do miss the da 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 da, just not
yeah,
doing that. Maybe for big special chests in major dungeons, it'll do that.
yeah.
But for the
Well,
chests you
and
find littered around,
that really annoyed in Wind Waker. I
hmm
got so annoyed with all the chests having to go through that whole thing because it's just like, just give me the chest. Let me open it and grab the thing. I don't want this whole musical number and celebration of me opening this chest.
hmm So some other issues with the game from a performance standpoint, a little framey in places. Also, some pretty major pop in. I think, like Xenoblade Chronicles X had pop in too, but I think a lot of the pop in was a little subtler. It more faded and then completely bam tree. Um,
Yeah,
the texturing is kind of weak in a lot of the art style disguises it really well because it has a very painterly look, but some of
yeah,
the textures are just really lacking in detail, especially the cliff face textures, which is rough because you spend a lot of time free climbing cliffs, which means your nose is right up against the cliff and it's kind of an ugly ass texture, which is a shame. But hopefully these issues will be addressed on the NX version of
hopefully.
the game.
Because the game doesn't come out till March, so it
Doesn't come
should.
out till March at the earliest.
Yeah.
So, and that's I said this in an earlier one of my videos. I kind of hope that they do a Xenoblade Chronicles X remaster for the NX. Just again because it's another game that is great and is really lovely and looking and does everything that it can marvelously
Mm.
with the hardware it has, but its scope really does outclass the hardware it's on, both Xenoblade Chronicles X and Zelda uh, Breath of the Wild. Um, so hopefully that's cleaned up with the NX. So
Hopefully.
yeah, Zelda does look really cool. There's just a lot of wonderful little details, and it's interesting that they managed to get 5 hours out of just running around one area on the map. and they showed, look,
Yeah.
here's the map, and here's where we are. This giant place we are is just, it's 1% of this. I said, no, that's not, unless you're counting the floor space of like interior areas, like major dungeons, that's like
Yeah.
8%, dude. That's not 1%. But whatever.
Yeah.
Noxus says Xenoblade Chronicles X favorite game, still looks great even though it's on Wii U. Xenoblade Chronicles X does look great even though it's on the Wii U. But like this new Zelda, its level of detail, the LOD management is a little rough, especially in New LA. I mean, you'll look at these really bad textures on buildings, and you'll get close and close, and then it'll fade into the better texture, and it's like,
Yeah.
that's kind of rough. Um, some of the shadow details are kind of jaggy. There's a lot of pop in, although it's more fade in Xenoblade Chronicles X. Um, so I'd love to see these games really shine the way I think they really want to. You know, 60 frames per second,
Yeah.
1080p. I don't really even need more bells and whistles. The texturing in Xenoblade is actually pretty good for the most part. Zelda's is just kind of simple and lacking in detail, which gives it that kind of smooth,
Yeah.
painterly look. But some of the textures are just kind of bleh. A lot of the ground and cliff face textures are just kind of ugly. But game does look cool.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
anything else we want to say about Zelda? Um,
No, I can't think of anything just offhand. Lots of interesting mechanics. The magnetic thing that they had going on was
mhm.
kind of a new, something I haven't seen
Yeah,
done
that
done
little
like
book
that.
hanging off of Link's belt is the Sheikah Slate, which is essentially a technological tablet. It's essentially a Wii U
Yeah.
gamepad, and which is funny. And as you explore dungeons, it gets more abilities, like the ability to lock an object in place. So if you have a
Yeah.
rotating platform, you can lock it in place for a moment so you can run across. But you can also like lock a large boulder in place and smack it with your sword several times and build up kinetic energy. And when it releases, the ball goes flying off. Um, because one smack wouldn't do anything, but if you can, 15 smacks all at once, that kinetic energy is enough to move the object. That's a cool mechanic. I
Yeah.
don't really care for the whole, it does this weird laser grid viewing thing.
Yeah.
Like when
All
you
that.
switch into magnet mode, everything gets kind of red and hazy. Don't really like the look of that, but
Yeah. But another interesting, just kind of a funny observation was the rafting, where you get the big leaf and you
oh
you
yeah,
swing it at the sails to propel your raft. That
that's
was
not how physics
entertaining.
works, but that's okay. It's a video game.
Yeah.
Oh, female Link, sure, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
So Link is male and only male in this game. And since the game was first debuted at E3 2014, a lot of people looked at the androgynous look of Link and said, could this Link be a girl? That'd be really neat. And
Yeah.
asked Aonuma about it, and Aonuma was kind of cagey about it. A lot of people reported that Aonuma said, Aonuma confirms Link is not a girl. Not what he said, but whatever. So people have been debating whether Link might be a girl, or if maybe we'd be able to choose which gender Link would be in this game. Um, so it's been a point of discussion for the last 2 years. But nope, this Link is a male, and there's no
Yeah.
option to select gender. So naturally, some outlets asked Nintendo, so how come you decided to go with only male Link? And Aonuma had the stupidest, most nonsensical answers to this question, that to the point that it was just stunning. and I said this on Twitter. I'm actually making a video about this right now, which I'm having to redo because Jim Sterling already pretty much said exactly what I was going to say. So, as Jim Sterling and I seem to be on like the same wavelength a lot, because I think of something, I'm like, that would make a good video. I'm gonna put that in a drawer and I'll maybe write that up this weekend and do it the next weekend. And then he comes, since the guy does this for a living, comes out with it that Monday. I'm like, okay, well, he said everything I was going to say. And that's happened several times now. It's really irritating. But I have my own angle on this now, so I'll
You should
maybe
check for bugs in your apartment.
Yeah, I'm sure Jim Sterling's ripping me off. So anyway, so Aonuma said, well, you see, um, the Triforce, right? It's Zelda, Link, and Ganon. And if Link were a girl, that would throw off the balance.
That
What?
makes no sense whatsoever.
How? Why? And the Triforce is not Link, Ganon, and Zelda. The Triforce is wisdom, courage, and power. It's just usually held by those three, or whatever incarnation of those three are. And it's weird because it's like, why? It's not even canonically correct. It sounds like Aonuma was caught completely off guard, which astounds me because he's been asked about this for 2 years now. You knew this question was coming, dude. And this is the response you went with? This is gibberish. I actually have a theory as to why, but you'll have to wait for my video. The other explanation he gave was, well, you see, the most obvious thing is to just make Zelda the protagonist of the game. But what would Link do? Who cares? Zelda's the protagonist, so who cares what Link's doing? It's like, you're Nintendo. You're like the most creative people ever. You can't think of anything for Link to be doing? I'll give you a hint. How about whatever the hell Zelda's been doing in the games that star Link? I mean, he could be at home playing with his cats. He could be, maybe Ganon captured him and Zelda mounts a rescue mission. Maybe Link has gone missing and Zelda needs to track him down because he's got the Triforce of Courage. Maybe they maybe it's like the more recent games like Skyward Sword, where they're both working kind of parallel to each other, and you keep crossing paths, and Link's like on his own damn mission. That was one of the things I really loved about Skyward Sword, is you'd constantly run into Zelda and Impa, and they were having their own adventure. And it's like, I hope there's a new game plus where I get to play the game from Zelda's perspective. That would be awesome. The game didn't do that, but that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
So really stupid explanations.
Yeah.
And I have a fanciful theory as to why they're stupid, but we'll get to that in an upcoming video. Another slightly related thing is people asked, so this Link is right-handed. Link is traditionally left-handed, so why the decision to make him right-handed? And Aonuma once again said something really nonsensical and silly. Said, well, you see, because the attack buttons are on the right side of the controller, which you hit with your right hand. So we decided to make Link right-handed so that wouldn't be confusing. But what's confusing is Link has been left-handed for the last 30 years, and the attack buttons are always on the right side of the controller, and you always hit them with your right hand. It's never been a problem until now. It's never been a problem for 30 years. Why is it a problem now? That makes no sense. I mean, it's like Link being a guy, Link being right-handed is not a problem in and of itself. It's fine, but these explanations and reasons don't make any damn sense and makes it sound like you're hiding something. So, yeah, just some of the weird... Aonuma had a stranglehold on the just weirdest, dumbest, most nonsensical PR BS answers of anyone I've seen this year.
Yeah.
So, um, Noxus says, I read the reasoning as if we do a female-led Zelda, we want to do it properly. Well, of course you do. So do that. But if you, it's like we want to do a Legend of Zelda game that actually stars Zelda, and your first question is, well, what's Link doing? You are totally on the wrong damn path. You have the wrong mindset. Um,
Well, it's like Final Fantasy X2. The whole game was, "Where's Titus? I want Titus. I gotta find Titus." And it's like, no, that's stupid.
yeah. Noxus says Link doesn't need to be in Zelda in a Zelda-focused game. That's true. Link does not
Yeah.
need to be in a Zelda-focused game, much like Zelda is oftentimes not in or barely in name games that have her name on them. But Zelda needs. Jordan says Zelda needs to transport a steampunk robot with a map that leads to where Link has gone for the past 10 years, but they only have half the map. Yeah, sure. I wouldn't mind if they did Old Man Link or something, or Steampunk Link, or hell, even if the characters were reincarnated. For instance, what if Link was a Gerudo? That could be interesting.
Okay.
Hell, let's play from Ganon's perspective. Let's see what this guy's doing. You actually get a little bit of that in Hyrule Warriors, which is kind of neat. Um,
Yeah.
so Zelda. Let's see what else was there. They had a. Did you see their new IP? This handheld RPG.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the name of it now. Um, I watched the trailer of it because some people were talking about it. And I was like, oh, they showed other games.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so, what,
It looks
what
okay.
was it? Yeah, it looks okay.
Oasis something.
Yeah, Oasis, something or other. Yeah, yeah, it definitely looks interesting. It's a action RPG, and play looks like it's going to play pretty much like every other action RPG. Maybe a little, with a little bit of world building. You build your own oasis and expand it, and people actually come to your oasis. You can interact with them and stuff. So that's really cool. But yeah, I'll be interested in playing that.
I like the lizard
So,
dragon character that you have in your party. I think she looks really cool.
yeah,
With a stick that she hits, or like a staff or something that she used to both pry things up and smack people with. And then there's another character as a bolo or something. It could be neat. I'm not going to play it because I don't want to play an RPG on the handheld. But
yeah,
oh, Matthew says old Link trained Zelda. Sure. Or maybe Zelda, or I'm sorry, Link could be the Navi character. Just follow Zelda around and go, "Hey, listen." Or well, he probably wouldn't do that. He'd probably just follow her around and go, "Yeah,"
yeah,
like tug on her sleeve and go, "Ha!" and just stare at her, and she'd be like, "Ah, I'll kill you. I will kill you, Link. What do you want? What's that, Link? What's that? I should go visit Death Mountain? The thing with the big spiral of evil around it? You think so? Shut up, Link." Could be good. But so there was the Oasis thing. Oh, Paper Mario they showed off, and it's
yeah.
still a Wii U title, and it's coming out in October. So yeah, it looks pretty. It's certainly they've got that paper aesthetic gorgeous. The paper craft
Yeah.
aesthetic is gorgeous. It still looks a little too close to Sticker Star. I mean, it looks cute, looks charming, but it's weird because I forget what her name is, but the producer of the game said that well, because everyone wants Thousand Year Door esque
Hmm.
Paper Mario. And she said, well, the Mario and Luigi games are kind of our RPG series. And as you know, you can only have one RPG series, just like Nintendo only has one platformer series. That's a stupid reason.
Yeah.
Well, it's not as dumb as some of the stuff Anuma was saying, um, I mean, as long as the problem with the game that I'm seeing, here's the big problem with Sticker Star. Um, there are these things called things. Sticker Star, Paper Mario, Paper World, but there are 3D objects that you pick up and you take to a certain place so that you can turn them into stickers. And you use these stickers of these weird 3D objects as special attacks, which you will probably never use against any of your regular battles because they're too overpowered. Why would you use that against a Goomba? Um, but you're also afraid to ever use them because almost all the bosses actually require you to have one of those stickers, and there's absolutely no possible way for you to know which one. For example, there's a squid boss, you have to have the sponge. If you don't have the sponge, it's probably impossible to beat the squid monster. There is absolutely nothing that will tell you that. The only way I intuit it is like, well, ink attacks, maybe the sponge can kind of mop up or absorb the ink. Yeah, that's what it ended up being.
Huh.
So you hoard all these stickers because you don't know which one you'll need for a boss fight. And using them is kind of a pain in the butt because you have to walk all the way back to an old town to buy the thing again and make it a sticker again if you ever use it just because you want to see what it does. Um, and they take up half your damn book because they're huge. So
Hmm.
you have like you keep your stickers in a sticker book that's 6 pages long or whatever. Well, all your thing stickers take up half the book. So you have all these stickers that you're just keeping in there because otherwise you're going to die at a boss if you don't have the right sticker. Also, fighting, there was no incentive for fighting in the game. You just avoid every battle because there's no experience. You need you need you get money, but the only thing money is good for is kind of buying stickers. But if you're not getting into battles, you don't really need the stickers, and you don't have room for them in your book anyway. So you just there's no incentive to actually fight. So Paper Sticker Star, I'm sorry, failed on kind of a fun. It's not a bad game, I don't think, but it does fail on some pretty fundamental levels.
Yeah.
I'm seeing kind of the same thing with Color Splash, is what it's called, the Wii U Paper Mario. Um, you fight Morton Koopa Jr. in this game, and he has a hammer attack, and he at some point he lights it on fire. And when he lights his hammer on fire, this flaming hammer will pretty much one-shot you. Takes off 48 hit points of damage. You only have about 50 at that point, so unless you're full health, you're getting one-shotted. The only way you can put that sucker out is if you happen to have the fire extinguisher sticker or card in this game. If you don't have that, you're going to die. So I'm very concerned that Sticker Star has this, or I'm sorry, Color Splash has the same problem that Sticker Star did.
Yeah.
Also, I'm getting tired of all the generic toads. They're boring. That's why if they took nothing else from Thousand Year Door, variety of characters, guys. I mean, because there were a bunch of toads in Thousand Year Door, but they had different outfits and hats and facial hair and hairstyles and personalities. They weren't all carbon copies of the exact same toad. It's so boring. Stop doing that. Arg. Anyway, pretty game though. I'm still probably going to get it, but so oh, Matthew says Zelda has voice acting. I'm gonna guess it's probably just that intro and maybe some cutscenes. Because it opens up and you hear a voice say, "Link, open your eyes, wake up and save us from evil." And that's it. And then you run down the hill and you see an old man by a fire and he talks to you in text. So I'm guessing that with the exception of story cutscenes and things like that, there's probably going to be your regular, oh, text, 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 which is fine.
Yeah.
Um, Also, it's interesting that the voiceover actually says Link, literally says Link, because usually you can rename the character whatever you want. You can name him Hortense or whatever. But if she calls him by name, that would make it kind of odd, I think. Hmm. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Let's see. What else did we have from Nintendo? They showed some more of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which I think comes out next week. Um, and it's still censorship be damned. The game looks like a lot of fun. I mean, at least they didn't. At least they didn't remove any content, so far as I know. They just changed the ages, changed some of the costumes. It
Yeah.
does recontextualize what's happening, I suppose, but at least they didn't remove. I would, if I had to pick, and we shouldn't have to, but if it's either, look, we're either putting a shirt on Tsubasa in this scene, or this entire dungeon gets yanked. All right, go ahead and change her outfit. You don't have to do that anyway because she's in a bikini in the other scene. So whatever. Although there is a Hot Springs DLC that is not being made available in the West.
Yeah.
Which again, I have to point out, there are scenes in the game where Tsubasa and some of the other characters are in bikinis doing like a cola commercial. So of course the Hot Springs DLC where they're in bikinis in a hot spring is of course for some reason not appropriate. I I don't know.
Yeah.
I would really love to corner somebody and just ask what the hell the thinking is behind this because it makes no sense. That's certainly not the ESRB. The ESRB has nothing to do with this one
No,
because
not at all.
nothing, literally zero in the original version of this game would come anywhere close to pushing this game into an M rating. Not a damn
Yeah.
thing. So, although you can still blame the ESRB for other things. Um, let's see. Like the Criminal Girls 2. Yeah, all the changes made into that's mainly the fault of the AO rating and the way everyone reacts to it, which is the fault of the way people react to it, but also the fault of the ESRB for continuing to use the damn thing. So,
Yeah.
let's see. Censorship darts. Yeah, Nintendo's throwing. I've said this before. It feels like they just have like this censorship quota to meet and just chucked darts and said, okay, thump. All right, change some ages, thump. Change a couple costumes, thump. It's like,
Yeah.
here's an idea. Stop it. But we'll see. I tweeted a while ago. Hopefully, Nintendo gets it out of their system with Tokyo Mirage Sessions and just turns over a new leaf, starting with the NX. Um,
You hope.
it's
Yeah.
region free. We're not going to censor anything. If you want to buy games in other regions, if you want to give us money for the games that we sell, we are totally happy to take it from you. So, Beyond Good and
So
Evil 2 was not at the show, and that's
no,
disappointing. But
no.
Yakuza 0 was at the show, and that's great. For
Yeah.
me, anyway. And it should be for everybody because Yakuza 0, the Yakuza games is great. This one takes place in the 80s. There's disco dancing. Um, and it's a really interesting rhythm mini game because it does the whole Saturday Night Fever posing and stuff. Oh, it's so great. But the mini game works interesting. There's a like 4x4 grid on the screen, or maybe 5x5, and one of the squares lights up, and there's a square that kind of comes in onto the square, a larger square that decreases in size, and the idea is to move your cursor over to that square and hit the right button just as the larger square meets the regular square. So with the beat of the music. So you have a square here and it goes bump, 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 bump is where you would hit it. And the idea is not to just move the cursor over there and wait for it to get there, but the you want to move your cursor around the grid because the more moves you make, the more points you get. So it's a kind of a risk reward. It's like I can go, but then I'll have, will I get there in time to actually hit it on beat? So it's nice to see them really revamping how that works. Karaoke
Yeah.
looks like it works the same. You just hit the right buttons in time. There's a like a phone sex mini game where
Weird.
yeah, where I don't know if you call the girl or the girl calls. I think the girl calls you. So I think you become a phone sex operator, and you have to answer the phone with a flourish. And how it works is the girl will say something to you, and the possible responses will be in little word balloons that kind of float on the screen, and you have to move the cursor and select the right response, and they move behind one another and kind of flip around backwards, and she'll say, "How are you feeling?" And the options are like, "I feel like I'm in love," and ones, "I feel like I'm going to throw up." So you want to kind of avoid saying I feel like I'm going to puke, but that's the biggest one, and it keeps getting in the way. So that looks like it could be really interesting. And
Yeah.
of course, there's side missions where there's a living statue. You know, the people who paint themselves in copper and then
Hmm.
just hold still. You meet one of those guys, and he really has to go to the bathroom. So I'm not sure how it plays out because they didn't finish it, but I'm guessing that maybe you have to be a living statue while he, or maybe distract people while he suddenly moves over to the bathroom because he's not supposed to be moving. Or maybe he takes a leak off the bridge while you distract other people. I have no idea. There's another one that I didn't see how it completes, but there's this woman at some S&M club who's a dominatrix, and she's berating one of her clients who is kowtowing at her feet and saying, "Whip me, beat me, berate me," and she's like, "You're you're a bad person, and yeah." And he's like, "You're really horrible at this." And so Kiryu Kazuma goes up to her, and I'm guessing the quest is you have to teach her how to be a dominatrix. I'm not sure. I'm sure that quest involves beating somebody up. I don't know if it's going to be you have to punch her until she finds her inner dominatrix. But I love these damn games.
Yeah.
Jordan says Andrew secretly works for the marketing department for Nintendo and keeps the people talking about the controversies. Um, and if you're right, you're going to disappear. Have I seen the Yakuza movie? It's called Like a Dragon, which is that's kind of how the Japanese name is translated. Like a, or I always thought it was. I guess it would be like a dragon. I don't know. I'd have to look at the name again. But no, I've not. I've seen clips of it, and it's even goofier than the game. Although the guy who plays Majima looks like he nails that. I wouldn't mind seeing it though. It looks interesting. I'd also like to see the Phoenix Wright movie directed by Takashi Miike, which is amazing. That's got to be amazing. Really want to see that. So,
All right.
um, so Yakuza Zero, game of the show, and Sony
Okay.
conference of the show, because they
Yeah.
shut up and just showed games, even though some of them were not didn't show any gameplay footage. But I
Yeah.
like that format. Hi, we're Sony. We're going to just show you a bunch of games for an hour and 15 minutes, not 2 hours. So, what about you, Zach? You got a game of the show or anything?
Game of the show. I don't know. Tekken 7, Horizon Zero Dawn are both
I'm still.
two
That was
games.
my game of the show last year. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I other than those two, maybe Steep. That looks really cool too. But
I really liked SSX Blur on the Wii, and that may
yeah,
have been the last SSX game, so it could be fun.
yeah.
I
So
was so bored by that point in Ubisoft's conference, though I just did not care.
yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
Gravity Rush 2, sure that had that was not in any of the conferences. Surprisingly, that you'd think they would have. So many great reactions to that trailer. Sony's probably kicking itself now for not having
Probably,
jamming
yeah.
that in there somewhere. I It's colorful. I like it. It's I didn't play the first one, so but I hear it's pretty good.
Yeah,
But
I
it looks cool.
hear good things about Gravity Rush,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah,
I like
but
the
yeah.
fact that the characters, when they kind of shift gravity, they always look like they're not totally in control. When they're kind of falling towards
Hmm.
buildings and wherever they're going, they're like, "Oh shit!" They never seem to be like, "I'm flying." They seem to be falling as stylishly as they possibly can.
Yeah.
There was a 30-minute long demo on the PlayStation E3 live stream. Oh, okay. So, yeah, I've seen some footage of it.
Hmm.
So, Yeah, I think that's enough. We've been going on for almost
Yeah.
4 hours. So that is E3 in a very large nutshell, a very large Molehill Mountain shaped nutshell. So,
Yeah.
all right, let us. I actually need to eat. I'm starving to death. Let us. What are we doing? Oh, plugging our stuff and then going away.
Yeah.
All right, so Andrew Eisen here. Eisen is the last name. It's how you spell it. Plug it into YouTube, and you can find my YouTube videos. Um, I might do a Q and Andrew tomorrow because my other video is not ready. Um, so if you have any questions you would like me to ask or opinions you want to hear me address, send me questions on, PM me on YouTube or send me a tweet, DM me, Facebook, whatever. That works. Um, and maybe I'll answer your question on one of my videos. Twitter is at Andrew Eisen, and the Facebook page is Andrew Eisen YouTube. So, Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Easy Night. You can follow my game development work, DK_gaming on Twitter and DivineKnightGaming.com. And if you're interested in the Oklahoma game development scene, check out OK Game Devs on Twitter and OKGameDev.com.
Real quickly, Jordan says, "What do I think of Ghostbusters movie tie-in? The Lego Dimensions Ghostbusters thing doesn't count." Okay, well, I had predicted that there would be a Lego Ghostbusters video game that would include um, the new movie, plus missions for the old movies, and maybe some missions or at least characters from the various cartoons, um, which seems reasonable to me. I mean, they have they've done like a Harry Potter game with 4 movies. They've done Pirates of the Caribbean with all 4 movies. They did Jurassic Park, which I have sitting right here, which is all 4 movies. So I think a Lego Ghostbusters game that covers 3 movies, totally doable. But Lego Dimensions has, and I would be all over that because Ghostbusters is my favorite thing ever. Um, but since Lego Dimensions has a full uh, Ghostbusters 2016 story mode, which apparently is several levels worth of stuff that covers the entire plot of the new movie, probably not going to happen. Which makes me sad because I could totally go for a Lego Ghostbusters game that covers all the movies and the cartoons.
Yeah.
I think that would be awesome. But probably not going to happen because it seems like what they're doing with Lego Dimensions is what they're doing with the Ghostbusters property. So, oh well.
And that sucks.
So that is it for us. Thank you, everyone who actually hung around for nearly 4 hours. We actually had over a dozen people for almost the entire show. So that's kind of amazing. Glad you guys hung out with us and had fun. And we will see you next week. Just a point of order here. If you've seen our past live streams on E3, you might wonder, how come no guests? Well, we are probably going to have a lot of guests in July because Zachary's going to be gone the first weekend, and then I'm going to be gone for the next 3 weekends. So we didn't want to overextend all of our guests. So July will probably be a guestapalooza and maybe solo shows too. So look forward to that. But before that, we have another weekend in June to get through. So we'll see y'all next week. Happy E3. Next year will be great. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right. See ya. Bye.